Recording in progress.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Yarmouth Select Board meeting of January 6, 2026. I'm going to ask for a motion to go into executive session. The Yarmouth Select Board will consider going into executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to Rivoli Construction, Inc. versus the Town of Yarmouth and CDM Smith. If an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the I can't speak tonight, I apologize. Litigating position of the public body and the chair so declares, which I do. I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Joyce got it.
Is there a
Second.
All's in favor, we'll do a roll call vote.
Forrest votes aye.
Karen votes aye. Argo, aye.
Joyce?
Lynn, aye.
Tracy, Post, aye. And for the public's knowledge, we will, at the conclusion of our executive session, we will come back into open session.
Recording stopped. Recording in progress.
All right, welcome back. Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Yarmouth Select Board meeting of January 6, 2026. We're going to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. We're going to begin our meeting with announcements. Does anybody on the board have any
I
announcements?
do not have any announcements this evening.
Dorcas?
Nope, no announcements.
Joyce?
I don't think Joyce is on
Back
yet.
here yet.
She's got to come back. All right, I don't want to skip her. Bob, do you have any announcements this evening?
Not.
Okay.
Liam, if you see Joyce, you're going to let her in, right?
Okay, and we're going to move, we'll go back.
Okay. Afraid of that.
We're going to go to public comment. Is there anybody here that would like to address the board? Please come to the podium. Good evening, Dr. Smith.
Good evening. Feedback. Good evening, Mark Smith, Superintendent, Dennis Yarmouth Regional School District. Hope everybody had a lovely holiday. Happy New Year. Just briefly, I've already provided the board with a detailed letter. I'm not going to go into all the details in the letter, but for the sake of the public who don't have access to that letter, I want to address some of the discussion that happened on the December 16th meeting. And really, again, not going to go a bunch of detail in that letter, but I know a proposal was discussed in that meeting that would include moving the 7th grade in our district to the high school, and would include then rolling our 3rd grade up into the intermediate school. And that would somehow allow us to consolidate all the students and not have to consider a build option at the ME Small school and replace that school. And I provided, again, the board with a lot of detail around how I don't see that as feasible. However, as I ended that letter, I'd really like to, through the chair, love to come back and have a more detailed, this isn't the right forum for that because it doesn't allow for the back and forth, but I'd like to, again, just as I stated in the letter, I welcome the opportunity to, through the chair, to be able to come back at a later meeting and have that discussion, and to be able to provide some context that I wasn't obviously able to be at that meeting. Had a personal conflict. My kid, he's a musician. He had a concert. I had already missed another big event for town meeting, so I had to go be dad that night. And so anyways, I'd like to be able to give a well-rounded perspective, and to be able to have that where those who pay attention to these meetings can also get that information as well. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. We have it at our place, and we will discuss that, I think, when we can get you on the agenda. Okay. I see a hand up online. Is that Vidos? Vicky? I can't see it. I'm sorry.
Vitos.
Vitos Patel.
Oh, maybe it's Vita.
Oh, Vita's iPad.
Hello?
Vita.
Oh, Vita.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Vita.
Okay.
So you can hear me, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You know, I don't understand what is going on with the people in this town, and there's always somebody who's ready to make a wacko proposal that then ends up putting us as a butt of jokes on radio programs and what have you. I mean, I just don't understand. Don't we have enough serious issues to do some work on and what have you, instead of, coming through? And I'm talking right now about this proposal from, I guess, the Board of Health, of which we don't seem to have a director yet anyway, to deal with smoking with the young people. This is something that is so wacky, honestly. And we just finished, dealing with one of these problems. But to think that not only, I mean, that this proposal doesn't even include marijuana, which is probably in the final analysis even more dangerous to young people than the regular cigarettes. I really don't understand why the board would take up something like this instead of just telling people, please come back with something very serious instead of something like this for us to deal with, because there are so many serious problems that the town faces. Thank you.
Thank you, Vita. I'd ask you address those comments to the Board of Health. It's their bylaw and in their purview. Okay, is there anybody else here this evening that would like to address the board? Okay, all right. Joyce, is Joyce back with us?
No. She may be having a hard time with,
Internet connection.
All right, we're going to, let me just see if it was advertised for 6 PM. It was, so we're going to move to our first public hearing, which is the first reading of our golf fees. So if the members of the golf committee could please come forward while I read that into the record. A legal notice, the Town of Yarmouth, 2026 annual golf fees. A hearing will be held by the Select Board on Tuesday, January 6th and January 13th at 6 PM at the Yarmouth Town Hall, 1146 South Yarmouth, Mass. For 2026 proposed golf fees, written comments will be accepted at selectmen@yarmouth.ma.us until January 12th. Verbal comments will be accepted at the hearing. The board meeting will begin at 6 PM. So what we have here are proposed fees, and I can go ahead and read them. They're not too extensive this year. But the annual fee existing is $1,425. They're proposing $1,475. A senior annual pass existing is $875. The proposal is for $900. The Lynx annual pass after 12 PM is currently at $375. It's proposed to be at $400. The under 35 annual pass is now at $900 and is proposed to be at $935. The young adult annual pass is currently at $385. It's proposed to be at $400. The junior annual pass, which is under 19 years of age, is currently at $130, and they're looking to propose that at $135. Twilight annual pass, which is after 2 PM, is $840, and they're proposing $875. And for daily fees, green fees are currently at $128.63 and proposed to be $135.06. Golf cart for 18 holes for a pass holder is $18.76, proposed to be $19.70. Golf cart for a pass holder for 9 holes is $11.40, proposed to be $11.97. Golf cart 18 holes for a non-pass holder is $29.47 currently, proposed to be $30.94. Golf cart 9 holes for a non-pass holder is $19.44 currently, proposed to be $20.41. Range fees currently for a small that is at a bucket of balls.
yeah.
Okay, $9.36, proposed to be $9.82. A medium bucket is $19.35, proposed to be $14.02, And a large bucket is $16.07, proposed to be $16.87. For club rentals, currently for 9 holes, it's $36.81, proposed to be $38.65. For 18 holes, currently it's $58.95, proposed to be $61.90. And for a premium set, it's $91.11, proposed to be $95.67. And the handicap maintenance fee currently sits at $66.84, and it's proposed to be at $70.18. So with that, we have your letter and your proposal, but if you would like to give your presentation for the public and introduce yourself, that would be great. With that, we'll open the public hearing.
Thank you. I'm Scott Kilmer, the Director of Golf for Town of Yarmouth.
Dennis Hoy, the head golf professional at Yarmouth Golf.
And we'll go through this a little bit quickly, and I know we've got a lot on the plate tonight, so you want to hit this one first?
Sure. Some of the promotions we've had for Yarmouth Golf in the past year, or coming up this year, is we're going to be the host site for the United States Golf Association Junior Qualifier for boys and girls in June, which is a big event. They're qualifying for a national tournament, amateur tournament, which is great because we've had, over the past couple of years, we've had a lot of junior events statewide that come through, and they keep asking us to do more, so we're doing something right, I think. So it's really nice to have people come and their families to come down when we have these events. The Links course this year is going to be hosting a junior amateur qualifier for the state of Massachusetts, which is the Mass Golf Association. We've continued a great partnership with Mass Golf over the last few years, which has been a great thing because they're the governing board basically for golf in the state of Massachusetts, and we've had a really good relationship with them and hosting tournaments with them over the last several years. Also this year, we were fortunate enough to be featured on Channel 5 Chronicle program. We had a big thing on that, which was we were fortunate enough to be on the same episode with LPGA Hall of Famer Pat Bradley, which was a big get for us. She just got a Hall of Fame section at Mass Golf up in Norton. And we were on the same episode as that, and it showcased our Links course, which we just did all the renovations for, so that was a really good feature for us. We were also on, myself and my assistant Ian have been doing golf lessons on New England Sports Network and a show called Golf Destination TV. We've been at the end of several of the episodes for that program, and it's been really good for us to get publicity for the golf course, and hopefully people are learning a few things from us while we're doing it. So it's been a good publicity. And then we were also featured on a show called Golfing the World on NBC Sports Boston this past year as well. So we've gotten a lot of really good publicity, both in the Boston area, but a lot of these programs are actually shown not just here, but on cable networks in Florida and different areas. So we're getting a lot of good exposure all around the country from this stuff that we've been doing. So.
Awesome.
Thank you, Dennis. So just to recap 2025 real quick, it was another very busy year for us. We did over 97,000 rounds, over 58,000 at Bayberry, over 38 at Bass River. That's total rounds. Memberships is roughly responsible for about 46% of those rounds. So very busy every day, which is great. We sold 1,460 memberships, total revenue of $1.5 million, and then we netted about $600,000 after all the capital improvements we made that year. We do a couple big tournaments, mainly the Top Shot, Cape Cod Veteran Tournament, and then the TBI Tournament, which supports DY Athletics. Those are the ones we do every year to help support what we can. Just wanted to recap a few things that we completed in 2025. The picture here is a nice fancy new bridge we put in at Bass River. Everybody's been very happy about that, not having to go all the way around. It's been a big time saver, big help for all of us. A couple of the other things is we redid the grill and bathroom at Bayberry. We did some clubhouse improvements and staging area at Bass River. Another cart improvement over at Bayberry, and then some new furniture and accessories for both the pro shops to get them up to the new way of doing things that we can then further bring into our investments. So we've been very busy trying to change the whole atmosphere of golf and how everybody's enjoying it and keeping up with the times here. Next one just, kind of shows where everything's going. We're not focused on one thing. We're trying to spread it around to keep it all around the golf operations so that we can better every aspect. We're investing in new equipment to help. For example, we got a core officer to help speed up aeration, so we don't have to take a whole week to do it. We can do it in 2 days. Less guys. It's one machine that can do. We work a couple guys. We've got a couple new tractors, a new truck, stuff like that. But then, we have to do the bathrooms. We've done driving range improvements for them as well, and we're working on a new cart barn study with PAR to see what that looks like in the future. Dennis can hit on that real quick.
Yeah, what we're taking a look at is the current place at Bayberry Hills where we keep our golf cart storage is getting old. It's probably been there since the golf course opened and starting to get in a little bit of disrepair. So going forward, we're looking to do a new building on site that's going to be able to use electric, switch over from gas to electric golf carts going forward. And at the same time, the top level of that, we were trying to look to put in some sort of a pavilion area. Because a lot of times when we have major events and tournaments, for those who have been up there to see, we don't have a ton of space with our restaurant at Bayberry Hills, but we have huge events asked of us all the time. So we're looking to have something where people can come, have meeting rooms, but it wouldn't be just for the golf course. It would also be for the town as an area where people could have meetings and different things like that at a new site. Because over the last few years in town, with a lot of places moving out, there's not very many places for people to have functions, meetings, and things. So we figured it was a great idea to incorporate that in what we're trying to do going forward. And part of that, too, is to look at even doing golf simulators, which are indoor golf simulators that you can use in the off-season. You can charge people to come in, hit balls in the off-season, and try to set up something like that, too, so you can keep our money coming in all year round and try to make it just a higher-end overall facility. And that's one of the major things. There's been a lot of work done over the past several years at Bayberry Hills, but this is the one thing that could bring it up to a totally new level. So that's something we're getting to look at right now.
Madam Chair, may I ask one question? On the meeting space, what would be the maximum occupancy that you'd have?
We're shooting between, we're looking at anywhere between 200 and 250 people to hold in that building for a tournament or function space.
Because
There'd be just one major meeting room, or are you looking at also having a couple of other areas as well?
There would be like one big function area with a smaller conference room type deal would be the kind of like what we're looking for.
Because just as an example, when we have like a major golf tournament, we've had some tournaments that have gotten so large we've had to open up more than 18 holes because we have 27 holes on site, so we had to go further. We've had 168 people in the Top Shot tournament over the years. The Boys Invitational Tournament, which was the fundraiser for DY, had about the same amount, so we had to use extra holes. But when everybody finishes, there was no place for everyone to go to eat and do the rest of the tournament things and the raffles and things that a lot of these charities want to do. So this is an opportunity for that to all be right there in-house, and it would be a great thing. But like I said, that's only during tournament time, but it can be utilized by anybody in town that wants to use it for meeting space, and it's just a good idea because there really isn't much of that in our town right now. So
Great.
Yeah, so that's one of the big projects we're focusing on. So just to recap real quick, we've already thrown about over $2 million into the courses to get them up to a different level. We're just still really behind the 8 ball on making and the investment, so we're getting as quick as we can to get up to speed. One of those obviously was the Links project that we threw $3 million at to get that really up and running. We've had great review, great fanfare for it, and people really love that one. That one is not funded out of the retained, that is funded out of the debt cost. And we do have a very healthy retained earnings right now, but we do have major projects coming down the pipeline, such as wastewater to Bayberry and a Bass River course that definitely needs some investment. So it does look significant, but it will go quickly once we hit those bigger projects. I did provide a budget, which I handed out as well, because it wasn't quite clear. Sorry about that.
Can I just ask a question about what you just said? Are you insinuating that the golf course is paying for the wastewater project?
No, but there's obviously, like whatever wastewater is done, there's obviously some issues that we have to solve after, like, for example, if it it goes on the driving range, we do have to put the driving range back. We may not want to put it exactly back the way it was, so there may be some investment that we want to throw at it to get a little bit better of a product.
Are these all part of a capital plan? I'm sure I know you guys had the capital plan last week, but are those all part of it that can be seen, what your projection is over the next few years with your retained earnings?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. We don't have a full-on plan of the wastewater yet, as we're working on it with Jeff and DBW to figure out what it fully entails yet, but we do roughly know it's, probably the driving range, a pond and stuff. We just haven't got to the point of what it all could look like at the end of it and what that entails for us to make sure that we're all kind of getting what we want at the end of it. So, just this basic budget, kind of just shows, I handed it out, sorry that wasn't clear, but how this all works for us is a key membership number. Being over 1 million really helps us balance every year, and that's, why we're kind of here for the fee hearing, is staying around that number is where we want to be. We didn't happen to bring in, $6 million last year, and we've done quite a bit to really step up the courses, and we'll continue to do that to bring in the caliber golfer we want. But I wanted to provide that to you guys so you understand that's where we're looking at, and that's where we want to stay. So a modest fee increase is what we're after.
Can you just, on that particular screen there, that you gave us the 2026 budget, do you have any actuals yet that you can, how on track are you with that?
For 2026, the current round, we're actually above. We're roughly 350,000 above, running above last year's numbers in revenue. So we're having another strong year from last year.
So, I'm sorry, you said above last year, so over the 6.3 million?
Yep.
And you budgeted for 5.1?
Yep. So we're having another very healthy year. Going to put some more money in the bank to continue to fund some projects in the future.
Okay.
So just, you recap this, this was the ask of what we were kind of looking for the fee increase. And then the memo associated with that, there's one outliner, if you will. We was recommendation, and we had numerous meetings with the golf committee, that the links pass to go back to the original rate that was paused for a year for the construction. And then we would all like that, to see that set back at the same fee as
Can
original.
you tell me how many of those passes you have?
How many links passes we have? Do you have that number on there up your head?
It's approximately like 120 people.
So, I mean, we're talking peanuts in terms of going over the 5%, we're talking a couple $100.
Right,
that
it's not an earth shattering.
And truthfully, the rate that you get to play that links course that's a tremendous deal.
But
It really is.
I have
so.
an issue because the town has voted to stay within the 5%. So, if it was a big difference, we're talking, if you kept it within 5% times 100 people, you're only talking a couple $100 of discrepancy here.
Yeah, it's not an earth shattering number, no. That's,
Okay.
and it's not, that, it was just, as we had meetings with the golf committee, it was voted and passed, and we wanted to pass along the intel that this is what we were.
I just don't think it's worth upsetting people going over the 5%. We did it once before, we allowed it because we were in the black and you had to be supporting. But my personal opinion is it's not even gonna it's not a drop in the bucket. And why would we go, when you have retained earnings at the level you have,
no.
why would you go against the town meeting vote?
Yeah, I understand
Support
the thing, and it would drop down, I think about 385 would be the
It's
new fee.
Yeah.
So we did have numerous conversations about it, just wanted to make sure that we're bringing it in front of you.
I appreciate that,
That's
but
what it was,
I
but,
knew where I was gonna go with that. I guarantee it, you said, she's gonna say.
but those are the fee categories, and it all works out to roughly a 4% increase through all of it, and that includes the links up, so if you drop that back down, it'd be actually less than 4%.
So you'd be at 5%, you're at 393.75 instead of 400 times
It would be
100.
390, because we don't want to do 393.
But even still, so you're
so it'd
talking
be- You would set it at 390.
$700.
Right,
Okay.
yeah.
Can do.
So that's the only one that was out, but yeah, like I said, it would be set at the 390 in that case. So as we go forward, why the need is pretty much, we're working on a very big capital plan on all the courses. We've had quite a few of these. Right now, we're in a window replacement plan at Bayberry. We're working on a patio improvement plan at Bayberry. We do have some more projects down in the future at Bass River, and then obviously wastewater and infrastructure upgrades, all that, will work itself out through it. But these are the reasons why we're going after it, and then the key operating costs and why our budget looks our way is the lease packages. We don't have much control over it. It's just a new fee really of the cost of everything that went up significantly. Fertilizer and chemical have leveled off, but that's a new cost. What we used to buy for $25 a bag is now $50 a bag. Unfortunately, that's just the new cost.
Can you
But-
get anything organic?
We do tap into the organic market. We do quite a bit of like a Sea Blend type brand of fertilizer, and we kind of mix and match with some others. But we do our part to use. We are also zone 2 with chemicals, so we can't use anything that leaches into the groundwater and stuff like that. We had a big Board of Health meeting back in October to explain that to the public and everything. So we do our part to stick up with the environment and everything. We know we have the Monarch areas on the Lynx course as well. So anything we can do to help out, we do our part there. But those are really the main reasons why we're asking for the fee increase. And then this is the comparison to the towns. Unfortunately, I don't have Brewster for you. They haven't fully voted that one through, or still kind of in the thing, but we're all roughly in the same kind of boat. We're not quite the highest or the lowest, but we're just kind of right in that happy medium, if you will. But it is hard. Every year we put this up, and it's hard to compare apples to apples. We do have 45 holes to support, where other courses only have 18 or 36. So we have the most acreage to support, and hence the reason our fee is a little different than most. And then we do the memberships as well. So our growth rate is roughly around 8%. Like I said, we did 1460 this year, just shy of 1300 the year before. We do a pre-sale, Black Friday sale. We do 4 days worth of membership sales. This year we brought in just shy of 300 in that 4 days of sale. So, that's been taking good traction for people to grab it at last year's pricing that they want to. And I think that's pretty much what we got. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Would the board like to go to the public first? Okay.
Yes, please.
Is there anybody in the public that would like to speak to the board about these fees?
See anybody online?
Seeing nobody, we'll go to the board. Does anybody on the board have any questions or comments? Liz?
Sure.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm very curious. First of all, thanks for the presentation, and once again, it's great to see all the hard work that you're doing and the benefits of it and the fruits of it. This Bayberry Hills Cart Barn renovation function facility sounds interesting. Is solar an option for that?
Yes.
So that'll be
So
something.
right now we have 110 carts. We do need more. We're looking at trying to get up to 125 as a number. So we're looking at ways to put possibly solar on the roof and then store it through a battery or what have you to be able to charge the carts is what we want to have happen.
Yeah,
And the room required when you're doing electric carts is a lot greater. Right now, the gas carts are, right up against each other.
Exactly.
And when you do that, you have to be able to get around to be plugged in, and they need a little more room as it is. So the building would have to be a bigger footprint.
yeah. Does the function room itself enable you to market the course to other group? I see a lot of heads nodding in the audience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it opens up options for larger events, because one of the things we would try to go for down the road, because we've been talking about this since we've been together, is you'd love to have like a state championship, like a Massachusetts Open or something like that, but it requires
Having a place.
for people to meet afterwards and do the function portion and the signing and the scorekeeping and all the other things like that. And those are the things, but mostly we've also talked about what a great asset it would be for other people, not just the golf course, that a town, whether it be town bodies or everything, to be able to come up there to meet in a, a bigger room.
Sure.
If you have to do certain things and whatever, because that's one of the things that seems to be missing. And if you have a vendor in there, they could, eventually do weddings and different things in there. And then you can market it for a whole different animal at that point.
Yeah, I think one of the advantages of being able to do something that's at Bayberry Hills is, we have an issue, as you know, at Bass River, where you have neighbors concerned about noise and activities, whereas at Bayberry Hills, it's a pretty isolated area, so you have all sorts of opportunities to generate, other revenue and activities that can support what you're doing. Another question, who's doing your marketing? I mean, obviously the word's getting out that, this is the place to golf. Who's doing that? That's you. Okay. No, that's good. I think.
Yeah, it's actually multiple of us. Dennis handles quite a bit with the Pro Shot staff. We work with the chamber as quite a bit as well. We have some radio stations, some TV work, and then obviously Mass Golf is one of our big partners in on this, and they help out greatly.
Yeah, Mass Golf
send the word out.
did a great article just recently on, it was their 125th anniversary for Mass Golf, and also was Bass Rivers. So they did an article on our course and the history of Cape Cod, and how at one point, I guess the Cape Cod Canal was going to go down Bass River, believe it or not.
Yeah.
And it was all part of this article, and I never knew that, but they found it out, and it was really good. So it was really good publicity, and went all over the state, so people everywhere get to read about that. So
Yeah. That's great. Well, thanks for answering the questions. Thanks for being here tonight, and thanks for doing a great job.
Thank you.
thanks.
Dorcas?
Thank you. Great presentation, and I really appreciate the hard work that I know has gone into all of this, and certainly you're reaping the rewards as well. I, like Mark, I'm very excited about the idea of the cart barn, and being able to have a venue to go along with, I think is going to be huge. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. And I had some of the people who I represent asking if there couldn't be more benefit to the local people, so the Yarmouth residents. And I don't know enough to dive into it, but I am the voice of those who say in some ways, the visitors who are coming onto the Cape are getting a better opportunity to play golf than the locals.
We did that, just so you know. They were forced to, they were in the black. They were forced to be self-supported. We challenged them because we were going to have to go private. Mm-hmm. And at that point in time, they used to have a discount for residents, and they had to go in a different direction.
Now, could it maybe come back? That's, I guess, what the locals are bristling for.
Yeah, so just to answer in a not really roundabout way, but the discount is really not kind of like in our favor, Will, but we do offer other alternatives for membership or for the Yarmouth players, you will. So they do get to book 3 days out, and we also do set away tee times for them.
Okay.
So they have access to the white course Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and we decided to give that a little more in this upcoming season. We're aware that we do allow public to book anytime, and we do know that they're wanting to play as well. So it's more of the fact that where we can create opportunities for them to play a little more to get it out. But it's more of this formula works a lot better than us than offer more of a discount on it.
Yeah.
But.
Thank you for listening. I also was quick to note on your key operating costs slide that your energy costs are up 125%
That's what happens with
over
green
last
energy.
season. What's that?
It's your green energy.
Oh, yeah. Well, we knew that was going to catch my eye. But, and I think it's.
You should be happy about the electric carts.
Yeah, I gave
He
him
looked
a-
right at you. I thought it was great.
Thumbs up.
We don't have them yet. It's all part of the plan. But most of our energy costs comes from running the pump houses and our big energy producers. We also have to buy gas for the carts, which is quite a bit of money. But we're looking at avenues to put solar in and around the pump houses to get those to come down. Obviously, we have a plan for the cart barn to do that as well. So any avenue we can to explore our higher
Canopies
costs.
are pretty promising, too. Some people love the fact that when they go back to their car, it's not steaming hot.
Right, yeah, that's possible thought into the parking lot as well. We also had, one time, when Bill was here, we discussed about putting it over the driving range as a way to get some shade.
Yeah, they did that
and
at
then-
Captain's course.
And then you can still hit balls and still get some sort of that way. So
Great.
there's obviously
It's on your
thoughts.
agenda.
Yep.
Excellent. All right, thank you. Joyce?
Oh, hello. I have a great interest in the energy savings that Liz mentioned, but I would love to know whether the solar installation that would be maybe to give a little bit of shade at one hole on the course could possibly solve the long-standing security problem where there's a barrier with the street along on the Bass River course where people have been hit by flying golf balls. I've been told in the past by golfers that would require a configuration of the course, but would it be possible that something that provided a long, skinny amount of shade for golfers with solar on top, which would be a very sunny spot because the barrier on the outside is the road.
I'd say this is a stretch from a fee hearing, Joyce.
Way to mitigate the problem.
Just to answer that briefly, it's the challenge to Bass River is obviously High Bank Road goes right next to one of the holes. There's no perfect solution for us to solve that problem, and the best solution going forward is to reroute the two holes so they go the opposite way to solve 90% of the problem. It doesn't guarantee the problem goes away, but 90% of it will go away. We can't put up a net. We can't do anything like that. It is tree lined already. I mean, the net would have to be 300 to 500 feet high in order to solve the problem. So it's in our master plan at Bass River to reverse the two holes. And that's something we're looking into as we get to that, 3 to 5 year window down the road. We do have a wastewater project with Baber we got to tackle first, but that's kind of in the plan of, we do want to help solve that problem, but the best solution is to reverse the two holes.
Creative thinking, Joyce, though.
The very first letter that I got after being elected to the select board in 2024 was from someone who was hit and got a bad bruise while driving along the edge of the Bass River course. And it's now 2026, so I would love to see a date attached to the idea of reversing the two holes, if that's what it would take, rather than a huge barrier, and if the solar shade area would be of no use in this.
Joyce, do you have anything on the fees?
Sorry?
Do you have anything related to the fees?
The fee? No, other than I guess I'm saying that financial planning should be in for the whole reversing for safety purposes.
That's reasonable.
Okay, it's in the capital, right?
Yep,
Okay.
it's in there. We just need to make sure we can afford it all with everything on the docket. That's all.
Right. So, I have questions about the basically the P and L that you gave us with at the bottom where it talks about transfer to golf capital. There's two different lines there about transferring to golf capital. And the general fund. What is the general fund to cover benefits?
The general fund is the indirect cost to the town. That's that transfer
So
to
it's
general.
It's covering things outside of the enterprise expenses. Okay.
Yep. And then the golf capital is those are all our capital items that got approved at town meeting.
Why is it split into two like that, though? I'm just trying to figure out.
The 220, the 2022 and the 2023, those are two separate town meeting articles, like the fall and the spring. Two town meetings, the two numbers.
Okay. All right, it looks like your budgeting is let's say conservative. If you're already at 6.5 at a minimum for this year, and we're budgeting for next year at 5.8, that's $1 million under.
We're kind of with you know, bobbing a little bit, but with the DOR and everything, we're kind of forced to be very conservative.
In case something downturns.
Yeah, it's kind of like that's how they like to see it. We don't want to go crazy too high. They generally don't like to see more than a 10 or so % increase every year. So it's more to stay on a little the conservative side.
And also, the last 2 summers, it has not rained,
So,
which is huge, obviously.
Yes.
If we get a rainy summer, it impacts everything, so.
Right.
Yep.
My only thing is the 5%. I just don't think I can't support going against the town meeting vote. If you want to go back to town meeting and ask the people for in excess of the 5%, I think that's something that you should do, but I'm not going to support that, not for $700.
I agree with Tracy, if it was something that was at town meeting.
That's my only comment. So we are going to continue this until next week. We'll have our second, do you have something, Dorcas?
Well, just a point of order, basically. So can we change that from 6% to 5%?
yeah, we can show you and then I'll give you an updated one that shows you down to the 390. Yep.
I would feel more comfortable with that as well,
Yep.
being at 5%.
Thank you, Tracy, for catching that.
Not a problem.
Mark, you have anything else?
No,
Okay, so we will continue to take public comment on here. It's good that you chose yeoman's work on the committee's behalf and your behalf, that when you ask for public comment on a golf fee, that there's nobody really to speak, because, there were many, many years where golf was a 4-letter word in this town. And so you've done wonderful work.
Yeah.
And
Not a nice
and I-
one.
That we help change that.
Yes, absolutely. Very much appreciated. So we will continue this to next week,
Thank you.
and we will be voting the fees at our next meeting. All right, next up. It says annual fee review.
And for the general government fees, I'd like to recommend that we continue this portion of the hearing until next week, also, which will be the first hearing, and then we'll have a second hearing after that. And that is at my request that, based on our overall budget situation and, incorporating the revenue mix and the expenses together, I've outreached, I know at least the DPW, and asked them to do a little bit more analysis to see on the sanitation piece if it's possible and would be supported in our local economy, to potentially look at some additional fees that may support the expenses in the budget. And so I'd like to give them an extra few days to get that information together. And so what we'd propose is to continue this fee hearing for the second piece until next week.
I think we should open the hearing.
Yes.
And, not take a presentation tonight, but then move to postpone it. But if anybody's here to speak on it, maybe they could just say a few words, and then we'll make a motion to move it, because we have it advertised already for tonight and the 13th, so we'll have to continue this until the 13th, and then as the first hearing, and then we'll have to set the date after our next meeting, meeting after that for the second hearing. So I'm just going to open it so that way we can continue it. Notice is hereby given that 2 public hearings will be held at the Yarmouth Select Board meeting scheduled for Tuesday, January 6, 2026, and Tuesday, January 13th, 2020. It says 2025, but it's 2026, concerning fee increases for the following departments, which are as follows: Fire, Public Works, and Waste Management. The Yarmouth Select Board will begin at 6 p.m. in the hearing room at Yarmouth Town Hall, 1146 Route 28, South Yarmouth, Mass. 02664. Written comments will be accepted by the Select Board at selectboard@yarmouth.ma.us until 4:30 Friday, January 2nd. Verbal comments will be accepted at each public hearing. Persons interested in the change and in these changes are encouraged to attend. So we have fire and waste management fees on here. With that, we'll open the public hearing. Is there anybody here that would like to speak to any of these fees before we continue it? I just don't want you to have come here for nothing.
See Joyce's hand up when we get to the board.
I don't think she put it down.
I think you're right.
Okay. With that, I will take a motion to continue.
So moved. Second?
All those in favor will take a roll call vote. Mark?
Forrest votes aye.
McGurran votes aye.
Argo, aye.
Joyce? Joyce?
Aye.
And I vote aye. So this will be continued until the 13th.
Right.
Can I just ask a question, Madam Chair, on the fees? One thing I don't see is beach parking. I know that's not Public Works or, that would be coming under Parks, but we did originally talk about doing all the fees in January, so.
Well, I guess we talked about that, and the feeling was that the beach parking was raised last year, and so maybe they felt they didn't want to keep pushing it up too fast. So that's kind of a question I think the DPW has.
We did collect a fair amount of additional revenue this year from the fee increase last year. It's not something we were recommending to move forward. If the board wanted us to take a look at that, we certainly could, but it'd been a number of years since we went up last time, so we just didn't think going up every year was the right direction to go. We're pretty competitive with our neighbors as well, but it's certainly something we could look at if the board wanted to.
Are we on the low end of that, or, I can't off the top of my head remember where we stand in that?
We're not the lowest, but we're not the highest either.
Okay.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it would be helpful at some point soon to revisit these costs, particularly when we get into the discussion about how we're managing our parks. We've had this conversation about park management and looking at our costs and looking at our overall planning and staffing to make sure that we're, because there have been some concerns in the community about our being able to adequately keep up. We're adding parks. And some of the parks that we have brought online, we haven't been able to adequately maintain. So, I think it's a legitimate item to bring up as part in the context of that conversation.
And that conversation's February 3rd.
So that can be the start of it.
Include the fees in that.
Okay.
Well, we can't. It's got to be advertised.
Well, it's February 3rd.
We have to make sure whatever we're discussing is advertised first, so we have to get it advertised before it gets on the agenda. Okay, because these ones that we're talking about now are already advertised.
Gotcha.
Yep. So, okay, with that, we took a vote, and we're going to continue that. So next is a vote to review the water conservation bylaw and enforcement. Okay. Hi.
Sit here by myself.
All right, I'll advance the slides.
Oh, thanks.
Hello. Good
Hi.
evening.
Good evening, Jeff Colby, Public Works Director, and Lori Rosella, the Water Wastewater Superintendent. We have a couple of slides here with some background information on this next topic for you.
Okay, so we were asked to talk about the water conservation bylaw and the enforcement of it. So I just wanted to start with, we'll go through the current drought status, some of the requirements of our Water Management Act permit related to water conservation, then the town bylaw, and how we're getting the word out to some of our residents, or all our residents, hopefully. So currently, we are in a significant drought. That's according to the Massachusetts Drought Management Task Force. They have another meeting on Friday, so we'll see if that will change our drought status at that point.
So their last meeting was November 1st?
No, December 10th.
December 10th, okay.
Yeah, the map is weird. They have a date at the top and a date at the bottom. I don't know why they do that, but so we have actually been in some form of drought since December of 2024, according to the Drought Management Task Force, so over a year now. Mostly significant, though we did drop down to mild drought in July of this year for a short time, and then we're back up to significant since August. Go to the next one.
I just wanted to show, this is a groundwater monitoring well located in Barnstable, a USGS monitoring well. And this shows the last about 20 years of groundwater data. And you can kind of see the orange dot on the very end. That's where we're at now at about, this one's at 26.88 feet below ground level. So you can kind of see looking back, we're low, but we're not the lowest we've ever been. We were lower in the early 2000s when we had a more significant drought, as well as in 2016 was kind of our last more major drought. The next one. But the thing that's kind of important to note is that groundwater level is not the only way that the Drought Management Task Force determines the drought level. There's actually 6 indices that they use. Each has its own formula. And you can, if you are interested, it's on the Drought Management Task Force webpage, which is at the bottom of the screen. But they look at precipitation. And the thing to note there is they're not looking at the last month or the last couple months. They're looking at 6 to 12 months of precipitation. So even though the last month or two has been really wet, it doesn't mean that over the last 12 months we've caught up. They also look at stream flow, the groundwater level that I just showed you, the elevation of the water in lakes and impoundments, evapotranspiration, which is the rate that the water evaporates, and then the fire danger. Fire danger is usually very high in the summer, and that seems to kind of rule, particularly in the summertime. So the Drought Management Task Force goes through all these indices and decides the level of drought. Just for people's background, the task force includes many state agencies. There's members from Mass DEP, Fish and Game, the State Fire Services, Public Health, Public Utilities, as well as the National Weather Service, Mass Rivers Alliance, and from my point of view, our kind of representation there is the Massachusetts Waterworks Association. There's a few others, so it's a pretty wide task force that's making these decisions. So why this is important to us is that whatever the Drought Management Task Force deems as the drought level is applied to our Water Management Act permit. So in our permit with the state for pumping water, we have to enforce restrictions based on that level. So during a mild drought, we're only allowed to irrigate 1 day per week. That's watering grass is really what they're mostly concerned about. And when you do, it has to be before 9 a.m. and after 5 p.m. And there's exceptions for ornamental plants. And then at level 2 drought, there's no irrigating your lawn, again, with that exception for watering ornamentals and flower gardens. And then after that, at level 3, there's no watering of anything. But the thing to note is that that's for non-essential outdoor water use, which, we'll go to the next one. I wanted to go through what that means, because we do get a lot of questions on this at our office. So this language on this slide and the next is taken directly from our Water Management Act permit. And it's actually worded kind of as a double negative. So it's the non-essential water use is use that is not required for. So basically the things listed here are essential in their definition. So things that are essential, and I bolded the ones we get a lot of questions on, are public facilities used for cooling stations such as splash pads. So the Sandy Pond splash pad is considered an essential use of water, and we don't restrict it. Production of food, including vegetables and vegetable gardens. So if you have a garden at your house growing food, no restrictions. And then to meet the core function of a business. And this comes into play with the Wicked Waves Water Park. Their business is water. So we can't restrict their business. And on to the next one is irrigation of public and private fields, playing fields, such as like the DY fields. We get a lot of questions on that, and I have actually spoken with the DY facilities to make sure, this was last summer, that they're watering before 9 a.m. and after 5 p.m. as required by our permit. They do also, DY does have their own well on the high school facility. I'm not sure where or which fields it actually applies to, but they do have some of their own flexibility there because they have one of their own wells. And the one thing I didn't highlight on here that I should have is golf. Golf, all the golf courses have their own Water Management Act permit, and they have to follow the rules set out in their permit, which generally means less watering of fairways and more of tees and greens. Right? Yes. I don't golf, so I don't know all the words. So that's on them to regulate themselves. That's not on the water department. They're not using town drinking water for that. And in addition, as Scott mentioned, over at Bayberry Hills and Lynx, that they're using a lot of the effluent from the septic plant. So that's a great reuse that doesn't even touch the groundwater.
Might want to add to that reuse, it was a banner year for the amount that they used from the septic facility. We're looking to increase that over time. Obviously, that's a large source of recharge for our new wastewater treatment facility as well. But I do want to give a kudos out to Gulf for really using a lot of that effluent this year.
So going from there, from the state level down to the town of Yarmouth, the town has a water supply, a bylaw, Chapter 142, Water Supply and Conservation Emergencies. The most recent version was adopted by a special town meeting in November of 2022. And it does allow the select board or their designee of the town administrator to declare a state of water supply emergency or a state of water conservation. And with that in place, there are fines for violation of the bylaw, starting at a warning. Second violation is $100, and then a third or subsequent violation is $300, and those are per day or per violation. So I do have a copy of the full bylaw if anyone needs it, but that's the general idea, is that there are some fines associated with not following the bylaw. The next one. And public notification. So the bylaw does require notification through a newspaper, but other options that I think could get more people would be road signs. We did have that sandwich board on the right side made up. We have several of those made up that we will have around town this year, unless we don't have a drought, which would be great. We can use the variable message boards, which we have in the past. We use, the town's social media and the website. We did a code red call, which is the reverse 911 last year. And last year we did do bill stuffers. So we kind of knew in advance because the drought started so early. So they did go out in the January, February, and March bills warning people that we are in a drought and be prepared. That's the letter in the middle. A few years ago when we had a drought, it was kind of closer to the summer. We didn't have time to hit all our bills because of the way we bill. So we did send out a postcard, which is that direct mailing. So we try to get everyone in as many ways as possible.
Lori, can I stop you for just a second? Aren't we in a drought? Didn't you just show that the Cape is considered as being in significant drought?
Yes.
So wouldn't this apply?
Yeah. Yes. It would apply.
So-
You mean the sign not being out?
Well, the signs and also putting something into the bill stuffers.
Yeah. We will put them in the bills this year as well. We didn't do January, but we were kind of waiting to see, hoping that it was because with all the rain it would improve. But we'll get the signs out. Just nobody's watering right now anyways, so luckily we don't have to worry about it. But yeah, we will get the word out in bill stuffers this spring as well.
Thank you.
So there's also ways for our customers to do their part. One thing is, if you don't get code red messages already, please sign up. You do that through the Yarmouth Police website. That's the all-call system, the reverse 911. That's important for more than just drinking water related things, so everyone should sign up for that. And then Notify Me, which is the emails that are email blasts sent out through the town, and that's on the homepage of the town website. Another thing that we get a lot of phone calls on and people get really angry about is when irrigation is running during a rain event. It's a waste of money for the person whose yard it is. It's a waste of water. So installing moisture sensors on your irrigation system is an easy, smart thing to do to help with that.
Do you know how people can, what do they do, Google?
Yeah, like Rainbird, they all have different sensors that you can install in your systems
Okay.
to measures the moisture in the.
Yeah, and irrigation contractors can easily do that. What we see is maybe the older systems don't have that rain sensor, but they're pretty common in new systems, and any irrigation contractor can install those.
Another thing, I kind of glazed over it earlier, but drip irrigation is a very efficient way to water, and it is allowed more so than any other form of watering. So if you install drip irrigation, that's a good way to save water, and also to, make it easier for yourself if you are in a drought, you can use the drip irrigation through significant drought. So that's another thing to consider, or to get a rain barrel, which I'm going to talk about more late in the next slide. And then I'd like to remind everyone that we have a customer portal. We have a good advanced meter reading system that sends all the data to the cloud, and any customer can log in and see their data and also set up alarms. So if you have a high flow, a lot of people don't understand that their irrigation system can use over 1,000 gallons a morning. They get high bills and they don't understand why. So if you're logged into our portal and set up alarms, you can see, when you go over a given threshold, you'll know. Also, there's a lot of information about how to fix leaks on the EPA website, the WaterSense website. So if you go to our page, it links to that. Toilets are a big offender of wasting water. We have these little kits at the water department, if anyone wants, that shows you how to look for leaks in your house and gives you these dye tabs to see if your toilet's leaking. So anyone's welcome to pick these up at the water department as well. And then the last thing, I just wanted to do a little pitch for our rain barrel program. It's what a rain barrel is. It collects the water from your downspouts, and then you can use it to water your flowers or clean things in your yard, whatever you want, as long and you're not using fresh treated water. You're using this water. It's a great way to save water on your property. And so we work with a program called the Great American Rain Barrel. They do all the work. They provide the rain barrels, but you can purchase them through us on their website, and they'll deliver them to us, and you can pick them up from us. It saves you costs on shipping and trying to figure out how to get it. So we have one day that you can come and pick them up. So if anyone wants information on that, you can go to greatamericanrainbarrel.com, search for Yarmouth, and buy your rain barrel through that. And that's all I have. Any questions?
Okay. So, the reason that we're getting this is because there were a lot of complaints about lack of enforcement, why have the rules? And I think that you kind of touched upon it a little bit, but I think for the public's knowledge, I think you've taken a good approach in terms of education. So can you just talk about what's happening now in terms of the enforcement? I know the first time they get a warning, you really haven't gone to the next step of ticketing anybody. And is that kind of what you're here today to talk about? Or are you just giving an update?
Well, we're generally giving an update. We certainly want to hear from the board whether, finding or going to the next level is important. We really feel that the education is the big piece of it. Warnings can go a long ways as well. What I will say, although we do have the ability to institute fines, the collection of those can be very difficult. Talking with some of our neighboring communities that do that, that gets to be a whole higher level of administration in collecting and administering fines. So we prefer to educate, and this is, I think, part of that. One of the things that is also very important is when we've been in this conservation mode and increased education, we've definitely seen a decreased use in water overall. I think we've shown that in slides before. We can certainly show that in other slides, but we're well below where we've been when there's been a unrestricted, period of time for water use. It's millions of gallons. For the most part, the public is responsive to that, and we can see it in our water use information and data that we get on a daily basis. I don't know if you have any specifics you want to mention on that, but people are responsive. I think that the concern that we hear, and I'm sure that you hear, is that when somebody sees someone that's not, but the general public is responsive to these conservation measures. And we're seeing that in the usage.
Good, so the education's working.
I think so. It would be difficult to try and fairly enforce. We have over 16,000 customers, and I'm sure there's like a few in every neighborhood, and how for us to actually track them all down and get them all and feel like we're being fair in our enforcement would be difficult. But at least by sending warnings, we get the word out, and that way, hopefully, people will respond without having to go to the step of fines.
That part for the irrigation, we talked to some length back. We also talked about a backflow.
Yeah, backflow preventer. Yes.
We talked about those pieces before. Has the water department done anything? I know we had asked about how we can help people get those types of things. Has there been any movement on that?
No, we haven't.
No, generally not. There's common practices, good practices for installation of irrigation. And for the most part, systems are installed with backflow devices. But whether, we don't go in and inspect every single system is the bottom line at this point.
And they should have the backflow on it, but
Absolutely.
we just don't mandate it.
It is mandated, we just we don't go and check. For backflows on fire suppression systems and other buildings that have a known hazard, that we actually go and test them once or twice a year, depending on what type of device it is, but we don't test, there's no way to test the ones on irrigation systems, and we don't go make sure that they're there.
And the precipitation measure, what's the cost of something like that?
The Rainbird?
It would be a couple $100s for that type of device. It's not a significant cost,
And then installation on top.
depending on who you use, right?
Mark, did you have any questions?
Yeah, I do. Thanks, Madam Chair. And, one of the reasons why I've asked that we put this on the agenda and talk about it is because this is an area where we get a lot of complaints. People complaining that the town is not doing enough to enforce the water conservation bylaw. Every summer, this is all I hear people complaining about, is that, they called the water department, they, finked on their neighbor, or there's somebody prominent down the street, and they're not following the bylaw, and then they feel that nothing's being done. And this has been just a sort of a fairly steady stream of complaints that I get, particularly during office hours and even off hours. So I think it's important that we do more to educate, and I like the signage. I know when I travel in other Cape towns, like in Brewster or in Chatham, the water conservation signs are very well placed, and they're very well, they're noticed. You can't miss them. And I think that's, I'm glad that you're amping up the awareness. I think that's an important step forward. But I also think that we need to have a conversation about what more we can do in terms of issuing warnings and getting the word out, particularly for folks that have been reported as violators, staying on top of them and being persistent with them. We also need to educate our residents on how to file a complaint and how best to do that. If it's best to do that online, or if it's best to just make a call to the office. Is there someone that they should call, or is there a complaint hotline or something like that? So I think that would be a suggestion that I would like to see considered. And now, how many warnings have been issued last year?
So from people calling in, and as you mentioned, we kept a list, and maybe you couldn't actually be called a warning. We would send that notice that went out in the letters again to let them know that, just in case you missed it, this is going on. But we haven't gone beyond, doing anything really official. I'm not sure. I have to figure out exactly what an official warning would look like. But we did send out the information.
Re-education.
Yeah.
Yeah, there may be some value in actually issuing a warning and having a notice that has a warning that you've been, a report's come in, you've been, you know, if someone makes a complaint, it would be helpful to follow up on that and then issue a warning if they've been observed not in compliance. I'm a big believer in education and warnings. I'm just not getting the sense that we're doing enough of it. That's what constituents are complaining to me about.
So I think we sent out there was about 200 of those people that we sent letters to
That was
last year.
last year?
Yep.
Reminders.
And calling our office is the best way to report it. Or
Yeah.
just the two ladies that answer the phone
Yeah.
keep track of it for us.
That's good. Thanks.
Like Mark, education, of course, is very key, and I also would like to see some kind of formal warning this year. I think that if they get something like that, it's going to mean a lot more than, oh, this is just another letter from the water department, and I don't really have to do anything about it. And I know that what's been shared with me is there's a lot of, shall we call it, neighbor shaming that's going on in some neighborhoods, you know, like that, where collectively the associations have gotten together and kind of let it be known. And I think the squeaky wheel, you know, if we can, the combination of, I think, folks bringing it to their attention and then seeing something official. I hear 200 just from the amount of people that got in touch with me last summer. I would think there are a heck of a lot more than 200 people out there that probably should have warnings.
Probably.
Yeah,
That's what was reported to us.
right. And I think if it's encouraged and people are educated to the fact that they can do that, you know, give the water department a call. I like the idea of having more signage out there, reminding people, maybe, for instance, getting it on the lighted boards, the school department, talking to the school department. It's amazing going down Station Avenue, how many people do, and how that really is something that they see. That one in the Chamber of Commerce over on 28, I think has a great impact. But I would not suggest or recommend going to an actual fine system at this point. I think we still need to educate. But I would like to see a little beefing up, shall we say, of the warning system.
Okay.
Liz, do you have anything else?
Yeah, I have the letter that we got in October from the Conservation Commission, and it really struck me strongly because they're concerned, and they had three possible suggestions. Almost all three are already being followed, so there's not much help there. But I think that they are hoping that the warning letter is followed more, possibly with a fine for chronic issues when we see the same, when nothing's changing. So I understand that you had 200 reminders that you sent out. And if there was a way of keeping track of how many times you're getting the complaint against the same person, and then a letter maybe even from conservation to make them understand that it's not just about, it's a serious issue in the town of Yarmouth that threatens everybody. Because I'm not sure that's getting through to the offenders. I think they're just thinking, it's my lawn, I'm a business, I need this nice lawn because I'm a business. At any rate, and I think the fact that they can call into the water department to let you know that there's somebody who's not following the rules is really important, almost like a hotline. And for really bad chronic noncompliance, the Conservation Commissions asks if we couldn't consider water shutoffs. So.
Technically, the bylaw does allow shutoffs.
That's what they immediately assumed, but
really.
they're pushing for a lot more control over this, and so I think they're right. I would also note that for those of us who are listening at home, I had somebody who came in when I was doing my office hours, and she couldn't hear her toilet running. And I think that's also a problem for some of our older residents, Yarmouth people, is that they can't, most of us can hear that toilet if it's running, and she couldn't. She has bad hearing, and it cost her $800. So that's an issue that, again, education, I don't know what you do about that, other than the blue tabs. But I guess you'd have to renew those because they're going to be used up. So that's a Christmas present, I guess, for all of us who are over 70. We get the blue tabs in our stocking. And then the rain barrels, I just wondered, they're closed, right? So there's no mosquito. We're not getting mosquitoes out of those.
They have covers.
Okay, because I know I can't collect water. Nobody should. So, but so yeah, I guess I'm a voice for more of a ruler hitting the knuckles than we've had, especially if and I guess we're waiting to see if maybe we get out of where we are, significant drought. And if we do, then maybe this is all moot. But if we don't, I think that it's time to get a little bit more serious about it. Because, yeah, it's offensive when you're following these rules and you see people who just are totally ignoring it. So, thank you.
Joyce?
Thanks. I, of course, am very much in favor of education. I also love the idea of the rain barrel idea and the community involvement that entails. I'm trying to think if there are ways to reach more people. You know, maybe an electronic mailing of exactly what Lori was presenting to us. Maybe sent out to the head of Yarmouth newcomers and to every other civic organization around and ask them to forward it to their members. Obviously, there's still going to be some people that don't get the message, but I do think that we have to give enforcement authority somewhere here. I guess Division of Natural Resources, because when someone gets a letter as part of the 200 letters and then gets another letter, I mean, this could go on forever. And I think that the first $100 fine might snap it right in its tracks. I thank you for all the good work you've done on this, because I know it's an awkward issue because everybody loves their water and thinks they're entitled to it. But I'd just like to say thank you, and thank you for the big drought signs. And they were a reminder to me as I would drive along that we had to be careful of water. Thanks.
Great, well, I appreciate your work on this. I'm more of an educator. I think that we need to, tuck that away when we are in a serious crisis. And I'm not sure we're in a serious crisis right now. Yeah. I mean, I was just thinking about, we were not that long ago selling water to another town.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a lot of water. So, and, you know, it's hard when, you know, people go around and they see the town, like the golf course and things like that, we're still watering, it's allowed, I get it by state standards, but it's kind of hard for us to enforce it upon our residents when we're not, you know, I mean, we may be cutting back, but we're still watering. So I think you have to lead by example. I mean, if we were in a serious crisis, we should stop watering. So I think we just need to keep
Right,
saying.
and to that point, we do. The town has irrigation on most of our town buildings, and we turn that off and follow all the rules. It's the playing fields that I realize people are seeing being irrigated, but, you know, a case can be made, and that's why it's in the Water Management Act permit, that it's a safety issue relative to kids playing and that type of thing.
I don't think people understand the difference when they see it. That's the point. It's perception, you know? So we just need to be cognizant of that. And I think, you know, maybe even if if somebody calls and you've sent them a warning, and, you know, maybe give them a phone call.
Yeah.
And reach out to them directly. I know that's a lot when you're talking
Send me
200.
over.
But thank you very much. I appreciate your update.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Next, we're going to go into our budget workshop for FY '27.
I have this problem myself.
So people should get the blue tabs at the water department.
Do we have any at Town Hall?
No?
Maybe we,
Put so much on, huh?
yeah, maybe we could. Blue tabs for everybody.
Oh, thank you.
I'll leave these upstairs.
Thank you, Lori.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We're here for our your annual budget workshop session for the fiscal year 27 annual town budget. I want to start off with just thanking all of our town department heads and welcoming them here into your chamber. We've got every department represented here in your community, and I do thank them for all of their continued hard work and the patience that folks have had with all of the detailed analysis that we've been going through for the last couple of months now, and the information they provided in preparing, defending, presenting all of their budget requests. We're here recommending a total budget that comes in shot of our revenues at $122,710,627, all totaled, but that's net of the cherry sheet charges and county taxes. Now, the total budget is up 1.5% from the previous year. I think it's important to note that our general fund revenues and the general fund portion of that budget is up 2.5%, just over 2.5, about 2.6%. It's brought down a little bit some of the accounting for the enterprise funds and the way those revenues work, especially with the funds that we've been using for wastewater, bring down the total budget. But we are tapped in that 2.5% range, and I want to get to that in a lot more detail. I think that our first big issue that we want to start with is this is about this evening with the budget workshop, the presentation of our new format town budget book that all the select board members have, and I know it's online, it's difficult it's getting so huge and detailed. We've provided electronically for the public, for departments, and I just want to call out Jennifer Mullen. She's here, our finance director. The work that she's personally done in preparing this budget book, it is a completely new format than we've seen in the past, and it's a huge leap forward for our community in the presentation of the financial materials. It is a highly detailed budget book that has all of the analysis of revenues, analysis of expenditures. There's detailed narratives describing each cost center function. There's graphs that cover several years of performance in there. And this evening, what we're going to do is we're going to walk through the budget book department by department and present the annual budget where we see here. And we have, again, departments available to answer any questions that you might have on the budget. But before we get to the budget book, I do want to relay somewhat our general concerns. Also, when we talk about this budget book, I need to give special thanks. Mary Alice Florio in our office is just tremendous. The way she prepares this material, gets it ready for everyone, and without her production, we wouldn't have any of the books or anything. So thank you, Mary Alice. I want to talk a little bit about the revenues, but first I want to orient you to what I see as the big picture for FY27. And I'm not going to make any bones about it. I've got a lot of apprehensions about this budget, about this fiscal year. This will be a very challenging fiscal year for the community. That we've got a couple of forces that are acting together to create some very sincere challenges. First and foremost, We are dealing with a slowdown in the overall growth of primarily our non-property tax revenues. And I want to get to that a little bit. When you look at your chart, we can see that that 24% slice, those are the non-property tax revenues. We're going to see the property tax is a very stable resource for the community. The values in our community have been very steady, very steadily increasing. The property tax is limited, we all know, by 2.5%. The total amount of dollars that we raise is limited, and with nearly 70% of the budget tied up in those property taxes, it really ties us into that 2.5%. That's what our target is for the revenues, unless in recent years we've seen some additional growth from year to year in those non-property tax local revenues that have allowed us to work collaboratively with the town departments, the educational team, everyone, to try to keep up a little bit with some of the budget growth. We see one difference between the chart in your budget book and my chart is when I talk about the state aid, I net out all of the charges, and I think it's important to point out that the state really helps us out about 1%. When you subtract the charges that the state gives us from the money that they give us in aid, we might get around $2 million, but it's all taken away, and what we have net to devote to town meeting for the operating budget is about 1%. And we have the enterprise funds that are set out a little bit from that, and that is roughly 8%. But the key problem factor that we're facing now in terms of the revenues is that 24%. So it's about a quarter of our budget that we depend on for most of the growth, anything over 2.5%. And what we're seeing this year is that net of the water revenues, which are directly set, and they come in the general fund, it's not an enterprise, but they're directly set to meet the capital debt service needs. They're growing a little bit more because we set those rates to meet the costs. The other non-property tax local revenues, and they're outlined in your budget book, and I think it's really great, the presentation that would give you, a sense for where we were last year, the motor vehicle excise, other excise, the meals, rooms, solid waste fees, recreation, all of that laundry list of non-property tax revenues. What we're seeing is a slowdown in growth to about 2.6% from the previous year, and that is an estimate. And the thing that I'm concerned about particularly is that in even achieving that estimate of that 2.6 growth, we are getting dangerously close to hitting at 90% of our collections, previous collections, and that 90%, that 10% range can be seen as, that's a red line. It's a warning flag. You should not be in a position that you're estimating the receipts at less than or more than 90% of your collections. To have a buffer of less than 10% puts you in direct jeopardy of not collecting the amount that you estimate. And while there's no penalty for having collections in excess, if you ever have a deficit in your revenue collection, keep in mind that there are very strict consequences for communities that do that every dime of that has to be deducted from your next year budget, and it causes intense turmoil. So we're at a situation here where these non-property tax local revenues are growing much slower, and we're at a level that we're not comfortable going much beyond in terms of estimating those. So that's, problem number one, that we've got the slowdown in revenues, and this comes at a time when the costs are continuing to rise. We know we've faced on our town site over the past couple of years, huge retention problems. We've addressed those with, fire, police, across the board. We've analyzed town wages, found them to be very much below what some of our neighbors are. We had been falling behind, and so we're trying to deal with that at the same time, just watching wages around us outside of our organization rise at a level that is, beyond the 2.5%. So the budgets that we have are over 75% tied in with whether it's wages or the benefit programs. It's really the heart and soul, whether you're on the education side, whether you're on the town side. When you're in the service business, providing the services, there's a lot of wages there. And right now, we're just in a part of our economy. And this is not a Yarmouth issue. This is not even a Cape Cod issue. This is, across our entire region. Massachusetts communities are facing these issues, I think, particularly strong this year, in that we see generally wages rising at a rate and benefits costs higher than the growth in revenues. So just dealing with that problem creates a lot of strain. But there's a couple of issues that we haven't been able to completely get our arms around yet that we're working on. And I think a lot that's in this budget is going to be a continued dialogue as we go through the process of analyze these things, that there are have been this year, coming up for this year, some very large enrollment shifts in our regional education system that are putting additional financial pressures on the town. Most notably, some of the educational costs at the Cape Cod Regional Technical High School are growing at a faster rate than we had anticipated based on previous performance. We have, heading into this year, 30 new Yarmouth students in the Cape Cod Regional Technical High School. Now, that's a growth in a single year of over 21% of the Yarmouth enrollment. That I don't think is precedented. And that is a massive issue. And what that does, it's not a fault of the school system, but there is an actual formula that provides that it's a population-based assessment. And for a 21%, 30 new kids, that's over $800,000 of money in addition to just the normal budget increase that we count on. And it creates an enormous pressure to find those revenues at a time when on the town side, we've got labor costs that are rising. We're struggling to meet those. We've got now issues with the Cape Tech in the enrollment, and I know that Dr. Smith is presenting now information in front of the school committee for the Dennis Yarmouth Regional School budget, and it appears that budget has same pressures that all of our budgets are, that make it so that it may not be possible for that budget to come in at a 2.5%. The numbers that we're seeing, maybe if it's 6 to 7%, that is significantly larger. But the bottom line is that revenues are sort of capped at what we have them. Costs are rising, not just in education and the town side, and so we don't have the ability to reduce enough without having drastic reductions in order to meet some of these new educational costs. So it's not a factor of just education, it's a combination of there's not enough flexibility to meet a lot of this additional pressure, and that's what we're going to see throughout the budget. And you can take a look at some of the individual pieces of that. I just want to, maybe show in the budget, another piece of this is we do have, this thing still works. Here we go. I think Jeff killed the battery. That's what happened. Let's try one more time. Put it on the green. Okay. And, to give you a sense, you see the state aid, and took a little jump, but, you know, when it takes a jump that's, you know, maybe $40,000, and you can see this situation, this is like a 10-year analysis. It's so flat, and it's all within, you know, $100,000 range that, you know, this is a permanent problem that we're not able to count on the state for additional state revenues. The local estimated receipts piece, you can see that we were lucky that we had some growth since the low point during that 2021. That was when the pandemic was really had a chill on a lot of economic activity, and we've rebounded significantly. And over these past few years, we've been able to use this growth in these non-property tax receipts, but quite sincerely, this year's growth is deceiving because it shows the water department growth, which is all tied up in the capital projects and a debt service. If you net out that growth, what we see here is basically this line here is flat. So we don't have that local estimated receipt growth for 2027 that we have in the past, and we can't use the water revenue for other things. It has to go just towards their programs. And you can also see, and I think, you know, to me, this is a positive chart. You know, looking at 10 years of the property tax levy, it really shows, I think, some conservative overall management of the town's tax base, that it is very stable and it's a very slow-growing revenue source. We, from time to time, had very small types of overrides to, you know, keep the service levels the same, but there have not been any spikes, nor will there be in terms of the overall property tax levy. But what you also will not see is you will not see a miraculous, well, we have all this new property tax money coming in that's going to solve our problems, that we can continue. You know, the forecast will continue to have 2.5% growth in the foreseeable future. And by looking at the 10-year, it hasn't changed. You know, that should tell you something. It's not going to change. That is your property tax. And we can tell you what you're going to be getting in property taxes next year, too. And it's not going to be more than 2.5%. And that's kind of, you know, the issue of what rules the economy that we work under. So a couple of key issues for the budget overview before we get into the budget books. Again, the total budget is coming in at $122,710,627, and that is up 1.5% from last year. But the true growth in the general fund is 2.6%. That's the revenue amount that we have. The capital spending has been recommended with, you know, we've done a great job with the capital planning. It's a combination of funds that we have from free cash, and we've maintained the roadway maintenance under the levy budget, consistent with the Prop 2.5 override that was in, I'm not sure exactly what year, but maybe 2015, maybe 17, in that range. And so we've managed to restore that. Again, there was a brief period of time that was taken out of the budget, but that's back in there. And the educational operating budget in this package is provided for at a rate of 2.5% growth. And I know the certified budgets have not been prepared yet. We'll need to work together collaboratively with the education leadership in our community to determine exactly what those final amounts are, exactly what our financial plan for meeting them are. But I think the bad news right now is that taking all of our revenues, we don't have an excess of funds to set aside for that projected increase over Proposition 2.5. And so that is going to be a challenge moving forward, and we're going to have to try to meet that. And the budgets for the other town budgets, what we've done, and again, I want to thank Jennifer for her work together with me, together with the departments. We've really gone through with a fine-tooth comb, and we've tried to preserve your service levels. Right now, we did not think it was appropriate to come in with a situation where, we were, reducing positions that provide direct services. We tried to say, how much can we cut things back? Let's have a very conservative budget that retains the service levels that we have now. We thought it was important to present that, and so we think that we've done that, but I don't think anything's off the table in figuring out how we move this forward to eventually it has to all come together. But couple of points I would make. Overall focus has been on the implementation of the goals of the select board, and in my budget memo, I tried to detail some key areas that we're doing that. We start with the goals of the town, and thankfully working through the capital program. It's where a lot of those initiatives are. But the key thing that I need to point out is that it was very important to us to preserve the positions, the management of those programs, whether it's the infrastructure for wastewater, whether it's the water department and the PFAS, all of that, the water issues, the economic development, community development, all of the key goals depend specifically on management through this budget of personnel that make the expenditures happen, whether even if the expenditures are included in the capital program, none of it is implemented without the management of these department heads. And I would say I'm very proud of this group that they are 100% locked into those goals and making them happen. But, we thought that we needed to make sure we preserved the staff that is needed in order to carry out those goals. We do have in here any existing labor contracts are fully funded, and we've implemented the cost of living increases that are in there, so there's no labor contracts that we've left hanging. We've got funding in here, and it's not, a major increase to the budget, but we've been able to take care of that 60-40 split for the HMO programs because we adopted that 60-40 split for the lower cost programs that have the lower inflation. And so that is not a big hit to the budget. And I think it's been a big win-win for the town in terms of the retention strategies by targeting that 60-40 split towards those HMOs. What we are going to do is hopefully save costs, not only now in the budget by having people in the more cost-conscious plans, but also the inflation over time in these plans is lower, and what we're trying to attack is the inflation, and you'll see in a minute a couple of points I have on that inflation. And again, the roadway maintenance is still in the property tax levy. This thing's getting a little bit tired with the budget.
We all are, Bob.
So.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. All right. We so far we've reserved 2.5% increase for the Dennis Yarmouth educational system. We know that is problematic based on the numbers, and I want to thank Dr. Smith again this year, outreaching us in the fall, early in the process, sharing numbers, sharing concerns. We have more information than we've ever had, and I think that we're going to have a lot of work ahead of us to try to bring this whole thing together. But I do thank the school system for all of their efforts to bring us together. Additional funding will also be required to address the enrollment in the Cape Cod Technical High School. Yeah, they may. And we also want to point out, even though the funding is very tight, we've tried to work some initiatives into the budget, and in a very creative, innovative ways that are efficient. And I think the Department of Public Works has an initiative to convert. We have a vacant mechanic position that we've had a lot of difficulty filling, that, and a lot of the work still has to be outsourced, that these mechanics that you hire can't just take over all of the new equipment. And so one initiative is to move those funds into a building and grounds superintendent. And I think that issue's already been brought up once this evening. We've made a focus in this budget of not only increasing the funds in the budget for the actual park maintenance of the grounds, but we're also increasing the management in the department to assist in overseeing the building and grounds maintenance at a much higher level. And there's a lot of money tied up in the capital with that. And we also working together with the water department, wastewater department. The only other new position that we have is an asset manager that will help protect all of the infrastructure that we're building now into the future. And those are some critical items that we see, and they're not impacting, that 2.5% portion of the budget, but they are allowing us to better implement some of the select board goals. And I mentioned the health insurance. Some of the things that we're trying to target is the inflation in health insurance. That's where our problem is how that goes up every year. And to give you an example, we're estimating, and if we're not able to do cost control, it may even be higher, that health insurance rates are going up a minimum of 8%. This year, retirement is going up 6.7%. Now, I want to tell you, these benefits, that's over $600,000 right there of just new costs for these benefits. To give you an example of how, people say, oh, don't say inflation, because it's not inflation. But to give you a sense for the increased cost, last year, those two items, health insurance and retirement, went up a little over $300,000. This year, it's well over $600,000. So what we're seeing is the rate of inflation in the retirement, health insurance, these benefit types of costs is doubling. And that's an example of, these are the higher costs that we're trying to fund with slower growing revenues. There's probably, we do have a little good news is the debt service is down slightly, and that reflects we have no big new debt coming on, and we're, in year 3 or 4 of a couple of key bonds like the middle school, Cape Tech, and the DPW. It's really all of the debt we have. We have very low debt right now. And so it does look like we're going to require some type of Proposition 2.5 relief in order to address some of these additions to the budget. But, we want to be very conservative in how we're looking at this. And that basically is what I wanted to give you for an overview. And I thought that what we would do with having all of the departments here is take a walk through the budget book, just department by department, so that you can just see the individual increases and there's so much detail in this book. I think that it'll answer a lot of questions for you, and the departments are here for any additional questions. And so I'll skip over the revenue section, but I do encourage you to go through it. In addition to having the numbers, it explains, I think, very well what exactly some of these revenue items are. It's got definitions, descriptions. It's really wonderfully put together. I wish I could think of things, this good all the time, but it's great to have our team that has worked to pull this all together. And it starts off, we've got the select board and your mission statement. The goals are reflected directly in the budget book. And then you go over to I'm on page 18 of the book, and that's what starts off. And it does have a lot of charts and graphs, but we're going to see the same format for each of the departments. And the one thing I want to show you, when there's a lot of items, you're probably used to seeing, you list all the items, and at the bottom there's a total. In these charts, if there's a lot of items, you'll see the total on top, and then it'll list them out. But in the select board, you have the moderator, selectmen's salaries, the expenses, and it's all the same as last year. So I guess we'll take each department. If you want to stop, and if anybody has any questions, we can ask them on, while we're there, and then keep moving along.
I don't want to hold us up, but personnel summary, page 19, 6 part-time, wouldn't it be? 5 board and 1 moderator.
Yeah. And I want to point out, you're going to find out that some of this data, like on how many full-time equivalents are in each department, has been carried over from previous things. So you might find it's not 100% accurate. But what I will tell you is every number we've gone over with the fine-tooth comb. So all of the budget numbers are accurate. And
How many positions were added this year, Bob?
Total.
Staff-wise?
total town-wide, well, we had the last year in public safety were the increases, so that doesn't count. There are still some that are not filled yet, but I would say maybe 2 to 3 new positions, and we mostly, I'll try to point out where there's a new position, have been like a transfer from one area to another. The only one I can think of off the top of my head, and correct me if I'm wrong, is the asset manager is new. And there's a new position in wastewater, which is the plant manager, to get the plant up and running.
What was the first one you said?
The first one was an asset manager for water and wastewater.
And there's none projected in this budget?
No,
No new positions?
no. So then we go to the administration side, and we have the salaries, and again, the total is on top, not on the bottom, and then expenses, and
No, I don't want to belabor things, so are we going to be doing more fine-tooth comb with the different departments at future dates, or is this our fine-tooth comb?
well, you are free to set up, a lot of times with some of the bigger departments, like the DPW or police will set up a separate night, but it's, the timing of it, it's usually better if we can, especially on a lot of the smaller departments, if we can get the questions out of the way now so we don't have to, because there's just not enough time to have, the finance committee, they'll be going through every single department, and generally the select board will just focus on some of the larger departments.
Well, I'm just looking at, for instance, at advertising and under administration. And advertising in FY '25 was about $1,500. And then in 2026, we've gone up to $20,000. Did we actually use that? I know maybe it's just too fine-tooth comb, I don't know.
Yeah, that covers, I don't know why it's listed at 1458, but,
And the first gas.
Want me to?
do you know that?
Yeah,
Because
so
the
FY
advertising-
'25 is, what page are you on, Liz?
20.
Page 20.
Okay. Yeah, so in FY '25, we spent $1,400 in advertising, but we always budget around 20. So FY '25 is what we actually spent, so it was low that year. We really didn't want to decrease any line items, especially with advertising. I think some of the advertising that comes out of this would be for positions and things of that nature, especially if we have to do a search and you have a, you have to go out nationally, so we like to keep that line item.
So that's an important note, really, actually, for all of these items, that actual should not compare actual to the budget so directly.
Yeah, I mean, it gives you an idea of what we actually spent,
Yeah, the
but
budget
usually
is
there's
really where we need to
a specific reason.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So, and it carries over onto page 21, you can see where it goes into emergency management, and then we maintain the account here for any of the step increases for department heads, and then the energy costs. Luckily, with electricity and gas, we've got a good handle on those. Legal is in here, and that's been pretty steady. We've been able to keep a lot of these administrative accounts down.
That's great.
And so there's the legal also for the bargaining. And then you get into the county retirement is there. And again, that's the number that we talked about, that 6.8%. It's just a preliminary number, but that's 388,000 in county retirement assessment that we have, and we still haven't got their final number in. Then we have unemployment is in there, and then the health insurance we have estimated at an 8% increase. And there's a lot of issues going on there that, we're talking about the GLP drugs, what impact that's going to have. I guess, I heard something along the line of that in 2 years, 80% of our population is going to be considered overweight or obese. And so it's scary. I hate to be in that category, too.
That wouldn't be Diet Coke either, would it?
Not a chance.
And then that budget also includes the insurance, which is listed out there. You can see the amounts for the town's insurance, and budget detail reports after that. So there's no questions on that. The next budget is the IT and central purchasing, and this supports all of the town's networks and computers. And you can see it's the purchase expenses, the IT salaries, which there's a slight decrease in there.
Where's our communications? Is that in here?
That's in a separate budget. It comes
I
out
thought
of the
they were
cable.
I thought they were under IT.
But their budget and funding comes as separate because it doesn't come out of the general fund. It comes,
Cable receipts?
yes. So these are funds from the general fund, and then it's sort of like an enterprise fund when you get to the communications, and they're in there too.
And where is the new energy manager?
The energy manager is a grant fund, and they fall under the DPW engineering, but they don't have money in their budget for that because right now we've just got the grant funds.
We're not supplementing that position?
No.
Okay.
And then that you see the IT expenses where they have all of their repairs and maintenance. And overall, the budget is down a little, but there's a lot of pressure on that budget. And they do have a lot of their IT improvements are also factored into the capital budget as well, so.
And I just want to mention that when you see the salaries go down in the IT budget, there was a position moved over to DPW, it was the GIS.
What did you, I'm sorry, say it again, Jennifer?
The salaries decreased because the GIS position was moved over to highway. So when you see highway, when you look at that budget, has increased salaries, and
Thank you, good
we
point.
just moved the position from IT to DPW under the engineering division.
The minus 12, that's, there's that.
And then we get into the finance department, where we have another, you'll see in a moment, a position transfer. The assessors are the first budget listed there, and they have their salaries and expenses. And after that is the accounting department, and you have accounting salaries, followed by their expenses, and then the auditing expenses for the community is a separate line item. And I might, point out that this budget format, in conjunction with the comprehensive financial report, is what has led to the town being awarded the Government Finance Officers Association Budget Presentation Award. So that audit is under accounting. And when we get into the treasurer collector, you see a reduction, almost 15% in the salaries. And that is a position we think we can better manage the whole sticker system with transferring an employee from the treasurer's office over to the clerk's office. So that'll better serve, better serve the public. And you'll see that over in the clerks, which is the next budget. The clerk registrar shows a growth in their full-time salaries, and that's that person coming into that department.
So it's an actual FTE?
Yes.
Okay.
One full-time person, and they're going to be serving the public and doing stickers from the clerk's side, which is more accessible, and it's not going to get tied up. We get a lot of, when people come in for the bills, the excise, and the stickers all at the same time, it makes a big line, and by separating those out, we're able to, and that was an improvement made by the finance department, which I just thought was great. And so in the town clerks, there's the salaries, expenses, and then the election and registrar's salaries. And we've seen a lot of growth. We've had a lot of elections in recent years, and this year is fairly constant. So we've been able to level fund most of the elections budget. And then we get into the finance committee, where we have the reserve fund for emergency and unforeseen expenditures, and we continued that at $100,000.
So if that's a fund, a reserve, is that a growth, then you're going to put another 100,000 in it?
No, it closes out at the end of the fiscal year.
Okay.
So it's called a fund, but it's all within the general fund, and it's a reserve. So it's available to use by the finance committee for, again, if there's an emergency or unforeseen expense, up to $100,000. And currently this year, we haven't spent any of that. Potentially at the end of the fiscal year, they may need to use some of that.
Didn't we create a reserve that we appropriated money to?
Yes, that's the capital reserve. So it's a separate stabilization fund that we create.
Stabilization fund.
To reserve funds. This is operating budget.
Okay.
So
Okay, it's
we
a
reserve a
independent
small amount in the operating budget, and this is not for
Or
capital.
emergencies specific to operations. I got it.
Exactly, something that comes up. So that way you don't have to, run to town meeting immediately. Then we move into community development, and their material is listed on page 40. And you've got the community development salaries, community development expenses. And following that is the natural resources division. General funding, and the animal control is under there, all of the harbor master, patrols, all of the waterways. You've got the natural resources officers' salaries laid out, no new positions, no new major items there.
I could ask one question on the bottom of page 44. Is I see that the actuals for the shellfish propagation is more than we've budgeted. Is that going to be a problem? Actual is more than what's
No.
No. Good answer. Okay.
Yeah, that's not a problem. So just to mention, one of the unique things that Yarmouth can do is make budget transfers. So through the year, if we see that a line item needed more money, we can, through the finance committee and the chair of the select board, transfer money throughout the year.
That was new. Wasn't that something you asked for?
No, this is something that's been longstanding for the town of Yarmouth, but it's different than other communities, so we do that. Also, I also want to mention that when you go to town meeting and you vote the budget, the numbers that you vote at town meeting, you can't overexpend that number group. So you might see a line item in the operating expenses that exceeds it, but it probably, there was an excess in another line item. So we manage it by the town meeting vote.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
But I guess on that point, before we leave it, I do want to acknowledge the Department of Natural Resources for, the aggressive approach that they've taken towards the shellfish propagation program. And, there have been a couple of opportunities that have presented themselves, working with other local groups and working with the department over the last couple of years. The work that they've done with oysters and other programs that they've really taken advantage of everything that we can do. And if we, work with, Dave's here, I know, with the DNR, and they have a program, even if it's not 100% in the budget, if we have some additional funds, as you can see, the amounts are not astronomical. It has a payback in terms of services for residents that's really great. And
Really
so
great. Yeah.
anything that we can do
Even the
to
tourism.
promote that.
Yeah, because shellfish fresh from Yarmouth is something.
But you have an actual cost in 2025 of 47,000, and yet a budgeted cost of only 29,000. You don't think it's going to go up?
Well, no, they did some special projects that were related to establishing the oysters and things, and
They're not going to keep, it's not ongoing, that was just a one-time deal?
it was a higher level that we do annually, so. Yeah, and if there's opportunities to kind of promote other programs like that or take advantage of opportunities, we'll work with the DNR to make sure that they get the money in there to try to do that. So after DNR comes the Senior Services Division, and on page 48, your salaries are laid out and the expenses. Get a lot of ground covered for a small budget. And next, we have the library department on page 51. There's salaries and operations. One issue that we have with the library that we're very mindful of, and I welcome Dave Aronson here. It's his first budget workshop with us. That they have very specific library certification requirements that involve the level of expenditure and then the combined level of expenditure over a several-year period. And so we're very mindful of those certification requirements, and this budget maintains the library's state certification and meets all of their needs, and the overall increase is very, very modest. So.
Can I just ask, Bob, on part-time, you have a change of 11%. Are they adding part-time positions then?
Well, it is, I think, just increasing some of the hours. It's only going up from 43 to 47,000. So I don't think there's a major increase there.
Okay.
But it is to make sure that they maintain a certain amount of hours. That's one of the certification requirements. So they put it in the part-time, and that saves money from adding a full-time person.
So then when you look at your personnel summary, you have 11 FTE and part-time. So it's combined FTE and part-time come up to 11 bodies?
It should be plus part-time.
Plus part-time.
So the
that's
11
what I
does
thought.
not include part-time.
No.
The other issue, too, is if you have somebody out, a full-time person, and, in order for hours, and sometimes you need to, the part-time will really fluctuate, so you might have to bring somebody in if somebody's out for an extended period of time, so that's why the part-time fluctuates.
Okay, so then the next division is recreation, and on page 55, it lays out the recreation full-time salaries, seasonal, and the overtime. And this is the town budget, in addition to this, we maintain the revolving fund that enables them to operate specific programs. And this funds all of our lifeguards and seasonal operations, so. Recreation. Then we get into the public safety departments. The police department is on page 58, and I just want to give you a small example of the, the increases here are very minimal, and, when I indicated I had a lot of apprehensions with this overall annual budget process, we, again, tried to be as conservative as we could in order to keep the overall numbers within what we have for revenues. But there were some items in the police department, and one specifically I want to mention that's not included in here that I really had a hard time with, because I felt that the need was demonstrated tremendously, is that the chief had proposed adding a new nighttime lieutenant. So it's a command staff person that would help keep the night staff, which is so many of them, tied into the overall management. One of the great strengths of the Yarmouth Police Department is that they have a command structure that ties everyone together as part of the organization and makes sure that they're all, oriented towards the exact type of performance, training, all of the standards, supervision, whether you're on night or day. And, one of the areas that we need to beef up is that nighttime supervision. So we don't have the nighttime lieutenant in there. It's a big, huge need. It's not going away. We're going to come back and get it. One thing that we did do, at least I was happy with, another initiative of the chief, is we beefed up some of the training numbers in here to provide a little additional for training, and the department needs as much training as possible on all of the new procedures, equipment, under the post. I just want to say our department is completely on top of that. The management is extremely strong, and we have to be there to kind of support, to keep that management strong. And areas such as the supervision and the training are very important. And I just want to acknowledge, Chief Lennon.
Can I ask two questions about this budget?
Sure.
Where are we at with our SROs in this budget? We got funding, the school cut it, and we got some funding last year, but what is the projection in this budget? That's the first question. The second question is relating to both police and fire with the recruitment, that there was a stipend that we were offering, and that came out of free cash. So what happens in this budget for those items?
I can,
Well, the second one, we're still on the,
yeah, you can
Chief's
talk
here.
about the SRO.
Let's recognize Chief Lennon. Chief, you heard those questions? Maybe we can bring him in, yeah.
How are you tonight? Sorry I couldn't be there in person. So as far as the SRO position goes, the school is still only funding one position for Nick Pascarosa. So the police department is absorbing the positions for Sean Brewer and Alex Exaros. And we have been using the $50,000 in overtime that was appropriated last fall town meeting to supplement any staffing that we have, if we're short on the road and we have somebody in the school, that money is making up that difference.
So what's gonna happen in this budget, though? The budget for next year?
Looks like
That $50,000 is
We are going to keep the two SROs there as best we possibly can. We are moving in a positive direction with hiring. We have 2 people in the academy now. We are working on getting 4 into the June academy, and we have 2 lateral transfers that are interested in coming over. So if all works out, in about a year, which would be covering this budget, we will be back up almost fully staffed, maybe down just 2 or 3 positions, which then helps us tremendously absorbing the cost of having the SROs in the school. And then as far as the stipend for the lateral transfers, we haven't had as many people take advantage of that as we were hoping, But with the two that we have looking at coming over, we, between police and fire, there was $100,000 put up. Neither of us have spent, I don't think we've spent any of that money yet, but we have two that are coming over. So we're still looking to use that. And when we do get a lateral transfer, again, it does save the town about $60,000 rather, between putting somebody through the academy and then hiring a lateral.
Excellent, thank you, Chief.
Fantastic.
I noticed that there are 2 overtime line items. Is there a difference between each of those, Jennifer?
Yeah, you have your regular
Yes.
overtime, and then you have overtime for training, and then you have your PAC overtime. So there's really 3 overtime line items.
So one of them should say overtime training.
Yes. It just, yeah, this is the way it came over from our financial management system. If you look in the warrant booklet, it does designate training in there, but that's what it is. It's training.
Okay, so the one that's 151,000 is training.
Yes. 140,400
Oh, right, I'm sorry for the
is
budget.
training, and then the PAC overtime is the same.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Chief. Any other police questions?
Oh, just wonderful news.
And next, after that, is the fire department. And on page 60, lists out the fire salaries, the fire expense accounts, and then the EMS expense account.
I have a question on the uniforms and other clothing. I know it's up 22%. We're increasing it to 129. I'm hopeful that that covers the getting them out of the PFAS uniforms. Is that going to keep us on track? How many new uniforms does that get that are healthier and safer?
Yeah, come on up, Chief.
Don't be shy.
I know you said you're going to do a little bit at a time, but I just don't know what that looks like when you say a little bit.
Yeah, those, that increase actually just covers the contractual agreement with the collective bargaining unit
Okay.
on like uniforms that they wear daily. It has actually
What about the
nothing to do-
turnout gear? Where's
Or,
that?
we've spent, you're probably not more familiar with the actual number, but it was, we got 100,000 last year, and we're working through that now a little
That's
bit.
not in this budget,
No,
It's
that was in a capital article.
and we're looking to do that again, I hope. Another 100, yeah, we need to get them out. We need to
We're getting there as far as what we're purchasing at this point. Gives us one full set of turnout gear. Excuse me.
So for one firefighter?
No.
Oh.
One set of turnout gear for our whole first
Okay.
line crew. We will be looking to replace another set of that coming up in the next few years to get 100% PFAS free. That would be the plan going forward.
All right, so it's in the capital, it's not in this uniform?
Yeah,
Okay.
each set of turnout gear is close to $6,000, so that's why we're working through it little by little.
We got to do it as soon as possible,
We agree.
my opinion. Thank you.
Sure.
Just a quick question on the turnout gear. If, that's one set, so if they've been involved in a fire, an actual fire today, can they turn around and use that same fallout gear the next day, or?
So at this point, it's recommended what they do is they take that first set of turnout gear out of service. We clean it. It has to dry before it can go back into service again. That's at the point where they would use the other set of gear that they have while they're trying to get the new set back into service. So there would be some lag time in between that, and we're striving towards that. We're going to need more funding. You know, if we're hoping to get to that 100%, then we're going to need a little bit more funding coming up, which we're planning. We're discussing how we're going to handle that.
And how long is the lag time?
Probably 8 hours.
8 hours. Okay. Thank you.
So what you're saying is ideally, in a perfect world, they'd have two.
Two full sets of gear, right?
That was my only question.
More questions for fire? Chief walked all the way down here. Let's grill him.
I mean,
Exhausted.
you okay?
Yeah, I'm gonna make it.
This is great.
Thank you, Chief.
Recruiting going.
Well, we had to work through a little bit of a bargaining process to implement the stipend, and we just offered it, and we haven't had anybody take advantage yet. So we're hopeful.
Gotcha.
Great.
Thank you, Chief. Yep. Okay, and that brings us into the Municipal Inspections Department, which starts on 63, and the numbers are listed on page 64. Building inspector salaries and the building inspector operating expenses. Another department that
Pretty stable.
the amount of money covers a lot of ground. And in that same department is the Health Division, page 67. And you can see the,
Does that include a hopeful eventual filling of the seat?
that's right. And Veterans Administration is in the Health Department budget as well. So you can see the veterans' expenses and listed out in the Health Department. And then we get into the Public Works Department, which starts with the facilities team. And right now, we don't have the new position listed under facilities yet. It's still the salary number. We're carrying it under highway, but we're going to be moving that over so that we're going to switch the mechanic into the facilities, but you can see the,
You won't be doing that for, will you be doing that for this budget?
it'll be for this budget, but the numbers just haven't gone over into the,
Okay, but so you are going to rejigger? Okay.
yes, but it's not going to have a bottom line impact
No,
on it,
but-
because it's still in the same department.
Gotcha.
And you can see we have at a 25% increase in the repairs and maintenance budget. That's really the big increase for this department. And with the additional oversight, we hope to make some continued significant progress. And then the next one is the DPW Administration and Engineering. And as Jennifer pointed out, that we moved the GIS position over from IT into the engineering, and I think that been a tremendous improvement in terms of really being a spark plug towards using the GIS in a real practical and wonderful way. So that's reflected in there. You can see some of the energy expenses. I know the diesel account has had to come up. And so we've got the salaries there, and that's that increase. And then the administrative expenses are carried over on page 74. And then the engineering expenses also. And next we get into the highway department.
I have one little question on DPW admin, page 74. I noticed that dues and memberships are kind of low comparatively to the actual.
The actual expense was $235, and we budgeted $700.
Am I looking at the wrong place?
Page 74, dues and memberships under DPW admin expense.
Oh, I was looking at engineering. Wait a minute. Page 74.
Yeah, you're looking at
Oh,
engineering.
okay, yep.
Yeah.
The FY '25 number was high there. I'm not sure why
Yeah,
that was.
So 600 is, it's not a big deal, but is it adequate?
Again, when we do,
You can switch things around.
yeah.
All right, moving on. Thank you.
Okay, so that brings us into the highway department, page 76. And you can see we've restored the tree program for the last few years, and we've been able to keep that going. Greenhead, fly control, then the salary budget's right there. Highway highway expenses, and then the machinery expenses.
Just a quick question on that. The tree expense, that's for removal of dead trees or planting of new trees? Both. Both. Okay.
And then we get into the snow and ice budget, which, again, has a strange state law associated with it, is that you're allowed to deficit spend for snow and ice as long as you appropriate at a minimum what you appropriated in the previous year. So for that reason, we try not to have an escalating appropriation that we may not be able to meet every year. So it's set at a pretty low rate, although it hasn't snowed in recent years. This is probably the coldest winter so far we've seen in many years. So I think we'll probably go over this year, but we'll be able to deficit spend for that, because of the state law and the requirements. So we keep it. That's where we come up with that number.
Have you already, Jeff, been able to reach, up to this point with all the snow that we've had, have you kind of hit the point of where we were for the total of the winter last year? Just
We've
curious.
exceeded last year already.
That's what I figured.
We're probably going to spend, like Bob said, the whole budget pretty quickly here. We're only in early January.
Not to
Right.
mention, both of our storms were on a holiday, so what, I mean, that's an extra expense.
Expensive storm, yes.
And I just want to point out the personnel summary, there shouldn't be one on here. And it was just carried over from a previous page, so
Oh, the title.
you can ignore that. There's not 7 FTEs in the snow and ice budget.
We wish.
And the next is the waste management facility.
And again, this is farmed out under Weston and Sampson? No.
No, this is operated by the town.
Oh, this is the dump?
Yes.
As opposed to septic, okay.
And now one of the transfer station, right? So
Thank you.
one of the issues we're confronting that is requiring some increases in this, particularly in the part-time, is that this is regulated by the DEP. And I think we're all familiar with the kind of the strong-arm tactics of the DEP in regulating our operations, and they have mandated increased oversight in some of the sanitation operations that, they wanted us to have additional full-time salaries, but we've been able to meet the oversight requirements using part-time staff and trying to keep it as efficient as we can. But just so you know that these facilities are operated under a permit from the DEP, and they come down and they look right at every person's salary, everything that's going on, and they're trying to get us to increase it. But of course, aside from the recycling bins, they haven't given us too much additional money.
Very tricky.
So the next one is Parks Department, page 85. And I think that's like three full-time FTEs. Is 3 FTEs? 6 in Parks. It says 10, but, And then cemetery,
Sorry, Bob, but is there any reason?
6, not 10.
Is there any reason that they're on page 85, that in the parks, admin repairs and maintenance has disappeared? Probably got put somewhere else.
Yeah, I think it was moved to the parks expense, repairs and maintenance. The way and just for clarification,
That makes sense.
we put the budget book together. This new budget book is actually extracting the information from our financial management system. And so the account structure that has been set up, there's like subsections under this, like park expense, beaches expense, some, we're looking at maybe trying to consolidate some of this. So this is the first year that, again, you're seeing it the way it is in our financial management system. So it gets moved around. When you look at the town meeting vote, it's like all together.
Yeah.
But they can move the money around.
And then the next one on page 89 is cemetery. That's salaries, expense, care and maintenance, and
And 3 FTEs.
and again, that, we should point out that some of these operations are supplemented by the trust funds we have for cemeteries. And that is appropriated at town meeting when we do that. You know that big, long motion we hate reading?
Yeah.
That incorporates the cemetery money and all the side money. And from there, we go into the education, and again, for the Dennis Yarmouth Regional School District, we've included, at this point, the actual amounts for the debt and 2.5% increase in operating. And, you know, we understand that's going to be an enormous challenge that we're going to need to work out what those final numbers are. Similarly, with the Cape Cod Regional Technical School, which we don't have the final assessment yet, we've put in the actual costs for the debt, which is up about 15%, plus we put in the 2.5%, which, you know, when we match this with just the student piece, it leaves us about 600,000 short of where we anticipate we'll wind up with the tech school.
So the actual student piece isn't in here.
Correct.
So that 2.5% doesn't include the 30 people shifts, so, and we already know what's happening, so why are we doing that?
We,
I'm just trying to figure out for budgeting purposes why we set it up that way.
What we've sort of isolated right now is what our potential shortfalls are, and I think we need to get a firmer handle on those, combined with the, it's an estimated 600 on the Cape Cod Regional Technical School. We're not 100% certain what the number is on the DY, but we need to put those together, and that's going to be our shortfall that we're going to have to try to manage. And you know, the idea is that we tried to reserve as much of our revenues for the education, right, as their proportional share of the total revenues are. But we didn't feel it was appropriate, because we had new students there, to go into other budgets, non-related, and start cutting people out of those budgets to provide for the education. I think we need a plan to how we're going to meet those amounts over that amount, and, you know, if there are impacts, what are those impacts, and how we're going to try to manage that.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that, but we've never done that in terms of the population shift before.
I don't think we have ever seen a 21% population
No, we
shift.
haven't, but we've always funded the requested amount. Not at that number, but I agree, but, I mean, it's our number, so what you're basically saying is we're gonna go for an override.
That's what it looks like. In order, if we want to maintain current service levels. And, you know, if not, you know, it's gonna take a lot of cuts. So after that, it goes into the wastewater enterprise funds, and wastewater reflects the new position for the plant operation, but it's from the enterprise.
Is that why it goes up to 267?
Yes.
Okay.
And then the water department in the special revenue fund is next on page 98. And as you can see, the revenues here are increasing in order to meet the planned increases in the capital costs and keep them within that fund. And the golf fund is next. We've had a little talk about their budget tonight already, but it's listed out in detail, including, you know, the revenue piece as well as the expenses, salaries. And the amount of detail in here, I think is tremendous. To have this in a budget book, I'm glad to see it. It lays it out. And then the next final of the enterprise funds is the septage system, which is on page 111. And down to page 112.
This was Weston and Sampson.
This is the one that's operated with the contract, exactly. And then the cable fund is on page 115.
Get into the, this is where communications comes in?
Yes. And it's got a breakdown of the revenues, and then expenses, salaries. And then there's a section on the municipal debt. I want to point out on page
So, I'm sorry,
119.
Can we just go back to that, because there's.
Sure.
So there's an 8.9% increase in that, and there's 2 FTEs? Is there a new person?
No,
Oh.
there's just,
Who,
Yeah, there are two.
who's on, Lori and who else?
and Marcel is she's the
Web, there's a.
communications assistant. Yeah, she does the website, social media.
Paul's here.
And so I think we're scheduled to come in with the communications team next month for a update with the board. We're working on that now. But, so that's the cable. And the next section is the municipal debt. I want to point out, there's a typo on page 119. There's the 2 charts, the current debt position, and they're both in boxes. The first one, it says outstanding short-term debt. That's the outstanding long-term debt. And the second box is outstanding short-term debt.
When, I was trying to remember, when did we borrow $70,000 for roads? What year was that? We had an override, but I don't remember ever
I'd have to
borrowing.
go back and look. It's been on the books for a while, I believe, but I'd have to go back and look at the actual debt schedule. I do want to make a couple comments about debt. We do have some bond anticipation notes out there that are due in April, and we will be borrowing, rolling those over. We'll probably do a bonding, and so I guess my point is I'm looking at how I'm structuring it right now and working with financial advisors, so the debt numbers will change. It won't affect, our 2.5 or, but I'm going to probably have some short-term debt out there and then do some bonding as well.
So does this 24 million include the interest, where the bond's at now?
No, the 24 million is principal only. It doesn't include any of the interest. It's the outstanding principal debt.
And then the payments that are due, including the interest and principal, are on page 120. And you see the,
And those numbers will probably change.
The interest rates are
slightly
getting better.
declining.
Interest rates are going to get better, so that's helping.
Exactly, right.
So as you can see, the overall budget picture is far from resolved. In the departments, there's very little new spending, basically just the services that you have. And, we've still got some challenges ahead.
Jennifer, thank you. Very comprehensive.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Does anybody have any
This
questions?
is like my class of finance 101.
Madam Chair?
Yes, sir.
First of all, I want to thank all the department heads for being here tonight and being available to participate in this discussion. Obviously, a tremendous amount of work has gone into putting together this budget. I take seriously the comments and the commentary from the town administrator that we're facing a very serious financial situation, and that everybody clearly has sharpened their pencils and really done the best that they can to come in with a pretty tight budget. That's what we're seeing here tonight. And, I mean, the situation that we're facing is very serious. Revenue growth is just non-existent. There's not much else coming in. If you look at our municipal, our non-property tax receipts, those dollars are not growing. We're in a tough spot, and when we close the books, at least on the calendar year for 2025, I don't think there's going to be anything to get excited about there either. I look very closely at and I appreciate our staff putting together those monthly reports that we get, looking at what's happening with revenues. I mean, we've been seeing this building for a while, and now we're faced with this situation. And I would agree with the administrator that we have really no choice. If we're going to basically hold this together and come out of this, we're going to have some sort of override. There's no way through it, particularly with the schools. And if we don't, and if that doesn't succeed, then obviously it's going to even be more difficult for our departments in terms of going forward. So we're in a very, I don't want to call it a perfect storm, but it seems like it. And it seems like it's going to be tough probably for a while. There's nothing on the horizon that shows the state situation improving dramatically. I really appreciate all the department heads and all the staff looking at grants and other ways to bring monies in to cover costs and to cover projects. There are things that we need to do, like Packets Landing. We're going to need grant money for things like that. We're going to have to be increasingly reliant on grant dollars to help us. Even on the capital side, the amount of certified free cash that we've got to work with isn't what it used to be. It's come down a bit, but still our needs are growing. So the reality is that we're in a very, very tough spot right now. And I don't know if the Finance Committee chair is still here, but Richard's here. Thanks. Richard, good luck in reviewing all of this. You and your team have your work cut out for you, and I certainly here on the Select Board will be interested in your recommendations and the results of your work, because I think our finance team and our department heads have really done a pretty impressive job in pinching pennies here. So hopefully you can find some more good news somewhere that we can utilize, but I don't anticipate we're going to see significant changes when the Finance Committee's done. I think you've done a great job in putting this together. We're in a tough situation. We've got to all pull together. So thank you very much for being here tonight. And, this is just the first in a series of steps that we've got to take in terms of getting ready for the next town meeting. So, but I appreciate your putting it pretty direct to us, Bob, that we're facing some tough times. And we've got to pull together. So thanks for that update. Thanks for the report. I very much appreciate it. And thanks, everybody, again, for being here tonight.
Thank you all for being here tonight. I think we all realize that this is going to be a tough year coming up. And I'm glad that we're talking about it now in January. And I think that the more we keep everyone in town involved in our conversation too, I think it's going to be important, because an educated public will certainly help us when the time comes to make the tough decisions. And I think they deserve to know all that's going on as well. But I foresee that at some point this year, we're going to be asking our fellow residents to approve an override. And all of you are doing your level best to make sure that that is as minimal as possible. But I do see it coming down the line. So keeping the folks out there educated, the more we talk about it, the better, I think. And thank you very much.
Liz, you have anything else?
I would like to say that I'm so proud to be on the Select Board and a resident of this town, because we are facing a real challenge, but we're also facing a huge turnaround in the town of Yarmouth. I think we're going to end up in another few years being extraordinarily proud of what we've accomplished. But what with tackling the sewer, which is so important, and having our shellfish propagation program, getting hopefully a new library that's up to the standards of the rest of the world. And I also want to do a shout out. We have an energy manager that we're not paying for who will help us find where we can save all of the buildings that the town handles and that the school district have potential savings when she has a chance to get in there and assess what needs to be done to make them much more energy efficient. So we have some opportunities coming our way that we just need to feel strong and keep doing our work. Thank you.
Joyce, are you still with us? I don't see her there anymore.
I don't either.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for the update and for all of you being here, and Bob for your comments, and we look forward to honing it. Mark's been saying and beating the drum about the capital projects, and, my fear is when, you couple overrides and then go back for capital, it's tough for people, and they'll just vote no right down if you put too much before them, and some of them, can't afford it. So I'm nervous. I'm nervous that we're gonna have to make some adjustments. So we'll see what happens going forward. Thank you very much. Our next item is a discussion about the Housing Authority Working Group. We received a letter from Drew Kraus.
It's here. He was in the back.
Yarmouth Housing Authority has asked if we can form an ad hoc committee or a working group of two Yarmouth Housing Authority board members together with 2 members of the select board and perhaps other town staff. Its purpose would be to advise the Yarmouth Housing Authority on wastewater and stormwater concerns connected to the project on Forest Road. The Yarmouth Housing Authority recognizes the board's legitimate concerns regarding these important issues. We hope to review these areas with you in more detail and study possible solutions. We expect an update from Laura Schufelt from MHP at our board meeting on January 13th to begin to consider a revised RFP. Perhaps our working group could be organized not too long after that date. All right. So, Drew, are you the chair of?
I'm here.
Were you the chair? Are you the chair? Did you write this on behalf of the board voted for this?
Yes, they
It
did.
wasn't just one member?
Me, no,
Okay.
it's the whole.
Just making sure.
Yep,
All right.
that is the fact of the matter. Yep.
Okay. How does the board, I don't feel like I have the expertise. It needs to be staff if we're gonna do it. I can't offer anything in terms of groundwater that's gonna be able to
Yeah.
be valuable to the situation that we have. Our staff is quite busy right now with everything that we have on our plate, and I don't know, Bob, how if you can task somebody that has the expertise. Perhaps we could have a select board member if they want to be advisory, but I don't know how we can offer anything regarding the groundwater situation that they have there. We've had engineers look at the problem, and I
Right.
think we've
That's what-
identified the problem to the best that we can as a board and our concerns there. So,
Well, I would say that we've looked at this before, and when we had the initial RFP, and, the issue's been out there for a while, and I think we've been quite clear, this board's been clear. I know I have my concerns, and I've discussed it with some of the town staff, and we had them review it before, that the critical technical issues that we have on this project deal with, number one, the wastewater issues and potential impacts on our public water supply wells that are directly adjacent to the site. And, just as chilling are the adjacent neighborhoods' stormwater management problems. Those are critical issues. We've sort of been, because of a lot of, there hasn't been a lot of community support. Let's just be, plain for this project. It's stifled our ability to really articulate these concerns, to work with the the Housing Authority. So I would say that if it was voted and approved by the Select Board, I think we have the resources to really put a fine point on some of these concerns, especially, I think that the town water department staff and their consulting engineers from Kleinfelder would like to comment on the potential impacts on the public water supply wells, whether it's PFAS and other concerns. And, I think there's no question that, we went to a presentation, I think we were all appalled to hear that the original engineer that was hired by the state was saying that they wanted to put a conventional Title V system in. We'd like to weigh in on that, and if we could resolve at least those issues. But we're also mindful that every time somebody says something, that there's a whole group of people out there that, want to put them in the public stocks. So I would say is that, what we'd like to do is try to articulate those concerns, the technical concerns of the town, and maybe give some food for thought. So I'd say that we could participate, and to have a member of the Select Board, kind of supervising the operation would be great too. So I mean, we're all very concerned about the development, but I don't want to put our head in the ground and not be strong on those technical issues.
I agree. I think that they need to hear the technical issues that we're concerned about. And frankly, I'm impressed that they finally reached out to try to work with us, which is what we've kind of been asking for several years. So I don't want to stifle that relationship building and seeing if we could come to some type of consensus. And maybe it's just, educating and proving our point that maybe this is just a bad location. We can work on trying to see if we can find a better location for it. But, I mean, we have to start somewhere, and I don't think without articulating our position on the environmental issues here, it's going to work. So I don't know if anybody, when do you guys meet typically?
Second Tuesday of each month.
And how often do you talk about this project? Is it something that, like, when you do talk about the project, you could send an invitation, or I don't know?
Certainly.
'Cause,
Well, for example, our next meeting is on the 13th of this month, and we're relying on the Mass Housing Partnership for a lot of technical advisement on this. And the representative from the Mass Housing Partnership will be presenting her ideas for a revised RFP on the 13th.
So that's
And that
pretty
will
quick.
include research we've done about wastewater and stormwater.
What time do you meet, Bruce?
5:15 PM at the,
5:15.
on Winslow Gray Road there.
We're going to be meeting here that day, so.
Right. Yeah, that's
Can
a
you
tough
move the
time.
meeting, Drew?
Huh?
Well, I mean,
So that, because none of us
between
could
now
be
and
there.
January 13th, we're not going to be able to provide
I'm just
any-
telling you, like you asked, do we talk about it? That's
I
the
know.
next time we're going to talk
But
about
my
it.
point is, if you're already at the step of recreating an RFP, it's going to take us some time to be able to get that information. Do you think we're not going to have that by January 13th?
No.
If that's the
Yeah,
start of your,
we're not, we don't have to, we're not on the point of developing an RFP and issuing it. We want to talk to you guys about it.
Okay.
And show you what our ideas are for the revised RFP. And find out from you, from your technical experts, exactly what it is,
Okay. I don't know, maybe we can have somebody at that particular meeting, and then in the future,
Like my naive idea of it was there'd be a special little group that would be a
yeah, because
public body that would meet at another time.
that probably is more valuable, because I don't think anybody here can come and sit through your entire meetings in case you talk about it. So maybe
Right.
we need to have sub-meetings.
Sub-meetings, yeah. Like it would be a task force or a working group, would have some title. Or
Well,
a,
I don't know. I mean, I'm in favor of Bob working with them to come up with something that will be helpful, that we're maybe we can move forward,
yeah,
on the
like
same
two of
page.
us from the board of the Housing Authority meeting with staff and hopefully a member of the select board on a mutually agreeable time.
We do meet on the 13th, so we can't make that meeting. So whenever it is, I don't know if we want to designate, if somebody wants to be kind of the liaison to this working group.
Tracy, I would, because I've had experience with the RFPs, and I actually was talking to Drew that it would be very smart when they presented the RFP to us last summer, whenever, that there should be these aspects embedded in the RFP, and that they could still go back up and add it as an addendum. So I've stepped into it already. That is an area of expertise for me.
Well, the
So I'm-
RFP, they have a professional. I think that what we need to bring to the table is the town's this board has to represent the town's position on where we're at and where we've been with this particular
Agreed.
project.
But it does need to be represented in the RFP, and that's what was lacking. So yes, it's first we need to get the right information, and then it needs to be brought to them so that it can be presented in the RFP to any potential bidders that this is what's expected of you.
Right, like, we're not, like, one possible outcome would be, we wouldn't issue an RFP. We'd say, yep, this is the wrong idea. That's not what I'm thinking right this second.
That's what I'm thinking.
That's what you're thinking, but we don't know. But that's what we're going to be discussing. See, I'm not
But I think the town has heard.
shoving it down your
Yeah, no,
throat,
I
so to
understand, but if we can convince you that this is the wrong place,
Right.
which is what I think the town has been trying to convince you, and work with
that's
your
quite
group
clear, yes.
to potentially do an RFP at a different location. Right. That's where I'd be going with it. So I personally.
The only thing that, if there were people who were determined to do it, to try it again, my theory, my understanding is that the difficulties that would be presented to the market would be so substantial, nobody would even respond to the bid,
we'll
and that
see.
would seal the deal. No interest in
I
developing
don't know yet,
there.
yeah.
Well, I want to see them develop. I want to see them develop somewhere else.
Somewhere else,
and
but
I
that's
want
the
them to work
point.
with the town on that. And I don't think it's going to be it's as simple as just an expertise on an RFP. I think it's going to take some complex looking at maybe a transfer of property or something along those lines. That's my gut feeling on it. But
I have to agree with you, Tracy, and I think that what's really critical for us is the involvement of the actual town staff, people that have the expertise, and perhaps even a consult being made with our attorney on the legal aspects of it too, to find out what could and couldn't be done. I can see why you'd like to have a select board member, Drew, but I have to tell you that personally, I think it's more the expertise from this town, and it certainly would be what I'd be looking for, anyway, just.
So your idea, okay, so let me just make this point, like just to be honest about it, right as of this moment, the Board of Commissioners of the Yarmouth Housing Authority does still think that could be a viable place to build housing. You guys totally disagree with that. That's where we stand at this moment.
But let me, Madam Chair, let me just make a comment here. This has been litigated before town meeting.
Yeah, I know.
No, but the point is so when you ascribe where we're coming from, we follow the edicts and orders of town meeting.
Sure.
So if our governing body is basically saying, listen, it's in the best interest of the town not to develop the site and reacquire the site and have the land set aside for conservation purposes, that's the governing body's position.
Okay.
And I think it's important just to be abundantly clear that for a select board, if we wanted to somehow change that, it would mean having to go back to town meeting and getting a different type of direction. But I don't necessarily think that that's something that you're going to see happen with this board. I think town meeting, like I said, has litigated this, debated it endlessly.
They've litigated it?
Town meeting is
yeah.
litigation.
It's litigation? What is that?
No, it's not.
I don't understand.
I'm using it.
I know what you mean about the town meeting.
It's debated it. It's debated it. It's debated it. All right. The sides have basically engaged in combat on town meeting floor and have rendered a verdict. So, from my point of view, the townspeople have spoken on this.
Mm-hmm.
Unless the governing body of the town takes a different position, I'm not sure
But anyway, do we want to go ahead with this working group so we can get the information and cooperate on that way? Or not?
Well, I definitely think Bob's offered some
Yeah,
staff.
with
and I
town
think-
staff, right.
But the staff is the one who's going to be able to articulate, especially maybe to
exactly.
mass housing,
Right.
where we're coming from.
Now
And
we're
then
talking, right.
At some point in time, you know, I mean,
My batteries back.
I know
Thank you, I didn't use them.
we differ in our opinions.
At the moment, we do, yeah.
But honestly, I think that this conversation is a good one because
Sure.
we need to have the conversation to be able to move past this.
Right,
And we haven't been able to do that.
that's right.
So if we can have a working group in any way to be able to give our opinions on both sides and maybe come to a different path where you can build housing successfully, which is also our goal, right? Then that would be great. But I just don't think it's as simple as writing an RFP
Right.
and going down the same path that we've been on, because as Mark has articulated, we take our orders from town meeting. And so, you know, to the point where we can try to,
When was it the town meeting voted?
There were several actions taken. I don't
I
have
know that
all
I've
of
read
them.
of two in the records that I can remember. I haven't, I don't remember the dates.
But the end result, the vote was to instruct the select board to reacquire the property.
To reacquire the
Yeah.
property. I'll have
Yeah.
to check into that,
But
yeah.
but we can't act unilaterally on that. That property was put in the hands of the housing authority.
Right.
So there has to be a willing seller.
Right.
So that
Right,
we
so we
can.
want to, yeah,
Right, so
that's why
that-
we're going through all this, right?
Yeah,
It's
so
not as
that-
simple as just
that-
saying, okay, we give
No,
up.
but
with it.
I like our chair. I respect and very much appreciate you coming here
Yeah.
and engaging in conversation. And
And I like the fact that we're down to brass tacks here in the.
yeah,
we are,
in the
and,
bush.
and maybe
That-
we
it's
can
not
find
something I
a
like to
different
do.
property for you to develop on. I mean, that's.
No, yeah.
That, we don't know.
I don't know of
because we-
any myself,
But
we'll see. Yeah.
let's talk.
Yeah.
All right, so Bob will maybe hopefully find somebody that's gonna be able to get some information to them for the 13th, or,
I don't know whether
Critical on the 13th.
we're gonna be
yeah.
able to solve this for the 13th, but we'll agree to meet with them and start exploring the issues. And if the
Right.
RFP process isn't moving forward, I think that's a good sign. And I appreciate
No,
the
yeah.
opportunity, and it'd be good to have somebody keeping tabs of this from the select board,
right,
because
so let us know when it's set aside, and one of us will try to attend, but again, I'm thinking more of in a bigger picture, that we need to have a conversation about what other properties are out there, that if we can reacquire this property and perhaps trade with them or do some type of agreement, I think that that's in everybody's best interest.
And that's something that would have to go back to town meeting and all this other stuff, and so, at some point, we're gonna need the board to.
But the reason I mentioned the 13th is that's our next meeting, and we are going to discuss Forest Road with our technical expertise from MHP. That's why I mentioned that. Not that we're going to immediately approve an RFP. That's not it.
And I just want to make my position clear, because I don't think it was somehow, that my feeling is that there are enough proponents, and including MHT, that want to see an RFP go back out, and that would be the final way of determining that the project is not feasible.
All due
That's the way you end it, is with.
We've ended it, as far as I'm concerned.
Yes, I hear you, Tracy, but
I don't care what
want-
MHD says.
No,
They're not gonna shove something down our
MHT,
throat.
and it's not MHT that I'm concerned about as much as his colleagues, who may want somebody to make that statement. So this is this board member saying, if we had the RFP go out with the necessary requirements to make it a feasible project, nobody's going to respond to the bid.
Well, I don't know.
But the people of this town have spoken that they don't want that project there regardless. So why would we support an RFP process?
Why did we support it this summer?
We didn't.
We didn't.
Well, they're doing something.
Yeah, and they're gonna keep doing
Kind
something.
of giving marching orders to do.
Well, not by
So-
us, but they, it's their property and they can do it, but it has nothing to do with us.
Right, so maybe it's a nice bit of counsel as friendlies from us to note that if you did an RFP, with the requirements, nobody would answer the bid. So that's just a little piece of friendly advice.
Drew, thank you very much for
You're
coming
welcome.
forward.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, and
We'll be in touch.
this is what I've wanted to do this for quite a long time, and now recently I've been in a position to be able to do it.
Well, we
Thank you.
appreciate you
And
coming.
We
So
appreciate
what
you
I
being
told
here.
you was exactly what the commissioners there at the YHA, that's where we're coming from tonight. And we're not about to throw out another RFP.
No, again,
But we are working along those lines as I speak. And it's clear what the difference is at the moment.
And I'm happy to go through the town meeting articles and the
Yeah,
history with you.
yeah,
Because
right.
I came to this.
I have looked at them,
Oh, you
like
have?
summaries of them, but I don't remember precisely what they said. But I know the gist of it is exactly what you're telling me. Yeah, I get that completely.
I just say right church, wrong pew.
Yes, I know.
So let's,
Listen to what people are saying.
yeah,
I really
okay.
do.
All right, well, we'll
Okay.
talk soon. Thank you, Drew.
Thanks for
I learned
having.
a lot from that budget review. Sat through that whole thing.
I know, I know.
Drew,
You
is this
deserve-
your pen?
Huh?
Not your pen?
That was left by someone else.
Okay, and we have a water bottle here. Everybody's leaving
Looks
everything.
like it's solid gold. Maybe I'll grab
Maybe
that.
the budget's gonna be fixed, grab it.
All right, our next item, an hour late, is support letter for the Dredge program. There's a letter in the packet to Governor Healy and Lieutenant Governor Kim Driscoll requesting that they support the Cape Cod Dredge.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we, as a board, support and endorse the letter
Second.
on the Massachusetts Dredge Program.
Any discussion on that? I see Joyce is back. She's back twice. Hi,
She doesn't have a mic,
Okay.
but
She has
she's
her
back
hand
with
up.
us.
Hi, Joyce. You're muted. Oh,
One of them is not muted.
Thank you. I just got unmuted.
Oh,
you're gonna have to turn the other one off. You've got feedback from, yeah, but you're online twice, Joyce.
Yes, I am because, oh, okay. Sorry, I went to use the ladies' room in the hotel desktop.
Sounds like she's coming from the mountain on high.
Okay,
Okay,
maybe you could mute her for us.
yeah, that would be good.
Okay, sorry, Joyce. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, do we have to do a roll call vote?
Well, if Joyce was voting, we'd need to do that. But if you want to be safe,
I think we should.
roll call, Forrest votes aye.
McGurran votes aye.
Argo, aye.
Post aye. All right, that's approved.
Thanks for
Next
hanging in there.
up-
You can go home now. Okay?
He's got the next one.
Yeah, there you go.
Next up, we have a letter in our packet for an insurance request. I think that this is something I completely and wholeheartedly support. There's absolutely no way that Jack would have been
Yeah.
able to foresee that, and, you know,
Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion that we vote to endorse the recommendations for providing health insurance to Mr. Kane.
absolutely.
Second.
Any discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Wholeheartedly aye. Sorry. May Sandy
Aye.
rest in peace. Thank you, Joyce.
She's there.
Joyce was there. She came in on
All
it
right, so
too.
that passes unanimously.
Yep.
All right,
Sarah.
boards and committee actions. Joyce, are you prepared?
Yes,
All right, take it away.
okay. As our very first, I'd like to announce the resignation as of January 1st of Mark as our ME Small Building Commissioner representative. We thank him very much. We know that ME Small School building duty is not a light task, and so we just give him double thanks.
Yay, Mark, thank you.
Is there discussion?
Someone should move to accept the resignation, though.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do we have to do roll call now?
Forrest votes aye.
McGurran aye.
Post aye.
Argo, aye.
Aye. Flynn, aye.
Very good. Next.
And I'd like to propose Jeanette Maye for a 3-year unexpired term for the Historical Commission to run through July 2027.
So moved.
Any discussion?
No.
Second on that motion. Nope.
Okay.
Their motion?
Yes,
Been
seconded,
motioned and
ready for
seconded.
the vote.
Okay, if we're ready to vote, let's go. Flynn, aye.
Argo,
Forrest,
aye.
aye.
McGarr and I.
Opposed, aye.
Okay, thank you. Then I'd like to propose Nancy Gunner for a 3-year term on the age-friendly community team. That would run through October 2028.
So moved.
Any discussion?
No, so motion, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Forrest votes aye.
McGarr and I.
Argo, aye.
Opposed, aye.
Flynn, aye.
Okay.
Okay,
We're
thank
on a
you.
roll.
Then we have a batch of renewals. The first of those is Sean Igo, and that's for a 5-year term through January 2031, and that's for Zoning Board of Appeals.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Forrest votes aye.
McGarr and I.
Aye. Argo, aye.
Flynn, aye. Okay, and then the next 4 are other members of the Zoning Board of Appeals, each to be renewed for 1 year for a term that runs through January 2027.
So moved.
In your handout, it says January 26th, but that's a typo.
And these are all alternate members.
Correct, and they can only be appointed for 1 year.
Second.
Okay, so here are the names. Richard Neitz, Anthony Penabianco, Tim Scanlon, and Rich Chastyak. Any discussion?
McGarr
Forrest votes aye.
McGarr votes aye.
Aye.
Argo, aye.
Lynn votes aye.
All right.
We're moving.
Well, thank you for your
Wait,
patience.
you've got one more.
What about
One more, Joyce.
the Recycling and Solid Waste Committee?
Yes, we still have one more. And that's a reappointment of Abigail Santos for a 3-year unexpired term through February 2027 on recycling and solid
It's only
waste.
2 years, but,
Any discussion?
well, my math would say that's 2 years.
I mean, it should be 2028. For 3 years, Joyce, would it be?
I have it from Pam as 2027. It's a remainder of a term.
Oh, remainder of the term, okay. So moved.
Second.
Forrest votes
All those
aye.
in favor?
McGarr votes aye.
Aye.
Argo, aye.
Thank you, Joyce.
Thanks,
Lynn
Joyce.
votes aye.
Thank you, Joyce.
We have a
Thank you.
approval of the minutes of February 11th.
Madam Chair, I'd like to move to approve the minutes of February 11th,
Second.
2025.
Second.
Any discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Forrest, aye.
McGarr aye.
Lynn, aye.
Argo, aye.
Okay. Upcoming agenda review, one of the things that Dr. Smith had talked about in public was his letter. I think that we should see if we can find an opportunity to put him on there to discuss, so we can have some dialogue.
I have on February 3rd that we have the school feasibility update and a letter regarding a regional agreement update.
I don't know where that came from, but
Is that on our upcoming agenda items?
Yeah, it's for February 3rd.
It's fine with me. That sounds good. Don't you
Do
think?
you guys not have that?
We talked about it, but it wasn't anything that was finalized.
It's on my sheet that I
It's on
printed out.
tentative that we
have
wrote it on. It was mentioned, so we wrote it on.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
great.
so,
I guess my question for Tracy is are there, sometimes it's important for us to talk amongst ourselves about school issues. All right, so what we should be clear on is that if we want to, at that meeting, have a discussion amongst ourselves about issues that we think need to be addressed and discussed, for example, let's say in the school agreement, that we can have that opportunity amongst ourselves to talk about those things.
well, I think there should be two separate
two separate agenda items.
Okay, that's why I'm bringing this up,
I do
because,
think there was a lot of information that was put out
yes.
at the last meeting that should be addressed, and questions should be able to be asked about that. So I think he, I think that he should have the opportunity to address that. I also think that we should discuss, we're gonna have to discuss, first of all, another appointment. Who's gonna, somebody has to represent the board, and this is the same thing that happened last time. Eric was our representative, he got frustrated, and he resigned because they went in a different direction. And so we're gonna have to have that discussion. As far as what I see here, and I didn't see how it got here, but it must have been part of your conversation last time, the feasibility update and the letter regarding the regional agreement, I think that's a conversation amongst us.
Right.
So maybe we have,
So the-
we
the-
have two
the-
separate school-related agenda items.
I think that to address his letter.
Sure.
And in response to the December 16th meeting. Because I met with him, and, I do think the scope of our discussions here, I wasn't here, but went far beyond what was advertised, and, which is fine. And I think he has the right to address them, but I also would like to ask questions. I think Mark has pointed out, his frustration with, and the reason for his resignation is, I don't think he feels that all the options are on the table. And, I think to build consensus with the public, if we want this school to be approved, we need to make sure that they know that every opportunity and every option's been looked at. And so if it can't be done, if something can't be done, I think he should have the opportunity to explain that to the public. And we should be able to ask questions. So I see it as two separate
Agreed.
things. Hopefully he'll be available to come at that meeting.
You want to have both agenda items on the same meeting then?
Yeah.
I think so,
Doesn't-
yeah.
I mean, we're gonna have to discuss another representative at some point in time.
I would
and
think
I think
sooner
these-
than later, because
But
we
that's-
don't want to be unrepresented.
Well, that's the problem. We don't want to be unrepresented.
And the other thing is that I take exception to the position that we've heard expressed from the school people, that there aren't opportunity. I mean, let's face it, I represent this board on a number of boards, and I like to have the ability to come back and report to the board on our deliberations in these other venues and on these other committees, and periodically get guidance and advice from the board. And I don't think anybody that we appoint in the future should be restricted in any way from having those very candid conversations.
And the problem is it's not on the agenda?
No, well, the thing is, it has to be posted on the agenda.
Right.
Right, so I've, in the past, I've tried to stretch the boundaries, but you can't do that under the open meeting law. If there's something that we want to talk about and have a conversation about, we've got to post it. And I respect other people who might want to come in and participate. I don't deny anybody that opportunity to come in and given a chance to say something, but no one should restrict our ability to talk to one another about the things that we're asked to represent the board on. And I feel strongly about that.
I agree, and I think now early is when we want to have these conversations. Because again, we don't want to wait to make sure we're not looking at everything till later on. And so I think it's part of building the public consensus. I think the public needs to see and understand and make it very clear that a new builder is the only option. We need to be convinced of that. So he needs to be able to
Convince us.
articulate and be able to answer to some of the things that were said. Anyway, anything else on the upcoming agenda?
Can you just kind of quickly go through what we have on that next meeting?
The next meeting is the 13th. We have communication coordination for the, the communication plan is tentative at the end, but we're going to recognize them for their participation or their part in the trench collapse. We're going to have the second golf fee hearing. We're going to have a second annual.
First fees
It's
meeting.
listed on here as second.
Yeah, but that's because,
It'll be the first.
We're gonna have, new liquor licenses for Bayberry and Bass River, energy manager update, economic development, update for special events, and, tentatively the communications. We talked about something else today, Bob, about next week.
we were gonna, well, I'll wait till he answers.
We talked about two things today on the phone.
Now I forget,
Title V tax credits.
late.
We skipped that tonight. We want to have that slide onto the January 13th?
What I would recommend on that item is, I don't think anybody on the board's against that legislation. It's about getting cash, getting a payment. It's a refundable tax credit.
Right.
Everybody supports it. It's like being for, you know,
Do you like ice cream? Yeah.
exactly. So I think if someone were to draft a letter for the board, maybe a letter that's similar, could be easily addressed and dispensed with. But I think we should, having a
Approve
draft
the
letter
letter.
in front of us. So if there's a vote and a discussion on a draft letter of support for something like that, I think that would be the
But
best way.
I think that what the issue was is, aren't these tax credits that are already approved? And we just don't have anybody to talk about it or present it or the information. Nobody knows. I mean, the idea just keeps coming up, let's talk about the tax credits. But
It's,
But who's the?
we don't
who's the
have
ex-
anything.
Who's the expert that can present to it?
I
State-
brought the
State
letter
Rep
from
David
Doug
Vieira.
Brown.
Well, too bad we don't have our own state rep.
Yeah. Well, we're missing half of our state rep. We've got half the town covered, not the other half.
I don't know if I have it in front of me, but the letter from Doug, oh, here it is. There's a fairly good letter from Doug Brown, I'm sorry, Jonathan Kaufman, on it. That, and I can get more information, but yeah, it's in committee right now, so it's written testimony in support of the bill is what,
So you need a letter, like Mark is saying, a letter to support if maybe you could take a cut at it and I can kind of help you with it. I just have been so straight out, I've been able to
Probably-
take this and
probably
run with
How
it.
many other municipalities has probably
A
written?
number
a
of
letter?
municipalities have sent letters of
Look on
support.
the MMA website, there's probably a draft letter there.
it's fine, I will take that on.
Yeah, if you could do that, Liz, that would be a huge help.
Great.
Because then we've got just so much stuff
So
to deal
it'll
with.
be a letter of support for the legislation.
That would be great.
I got you.
All right. Joyce, you have anything on upcoming agenda?
No, I'm good, thank you.
All right, individual items.
Before we go on, I'm sorry, but on, so just add to February 3rd, that we have to have the fees hearing number 2, if that's when it would happen, and that you wanted to include a review of beach fees,
I,
so that would be February 3rd. And on the,
I don't support right now having to go through beach fees. I think we're fine. I think the discussion about revenues should come from a broader conversation about parkland management in terms of,
Which was coming up in March.
yeah,
wasn't it?
so let's
is-
let's just
that-
deal with that after the March meeting. If the March meeting comes up with, hey, listen, we need to do more and we need to come up with more revenue, then
March meeting are you talking about then? Because I have it as part of February 3rd. What were you talking about, Dorcas? March
I
meeting?
thought we had been talking about March 3rd.
There is, no, it's not on there, but it could be on there. There's a discussion on the Parkers River Landing policies for managing/using the park on February 3rd. And is that
That's
what you're
just
talking about?
No,
No.
that's just how are we gonna have the park
Right,
usage?
but now we're trying to tie beach fee review
No, we're not gonna do beach fee review.
at all.
No,
Okay.
I don't think so. If the staff says that they don't need it, and we just did it, I don't,
Mark, is that what you're saying too?
I don't think we need to do a fee. We have nothing to go on. The first thing, to me, the predicate or the discussion that has to happen ahead of time is there more that we need to do for the care and maintenance and upgrade and upkeep of our parks?
Right.
That's
and
that's a conversation yet to be had.
But it is on February 3rd.
I don't have that in front of me, but if that's the
no,
date
that
that we're gonna
says,
have.
No, it's
that's,
Parker's.
that's for the, yeah.
We need-
Using the Parkers River.
There needs to be a plan. In order to utilize the park, we need to have a plan.
That's just for that park.
That's
Yeah.
for the
Right.
Parkers River.
Yeah.
So do we want to add to so we don't want to expand that, we want to add another agenda item,
Right.
which is overarching review of park
And
management.
that's on the list of items to be scheduled, I believe.
And I would look at,
It is.
tentatively, we could do that on April 7th.
April 7th?
We have an April 7th marked here with absolutely nothing on it.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we have enough for our,
We've got enough.
meeting next,
do.
and we will discuss at that meeting.
And I hate to bring it up, but you know I love it, or I hate it, but we do have the fair treatment endorsement back, so that's gonna have to come back on our agendas.
We voted it down.
You voted that it go the unanimous vote was that it be sent to town council. It's back,
It wasn't unanimous, but
and now
that's
we
okay.
have to review it again.
We don't have to do anything.
You don't have to do anything, but I would promote that there are a lot of people who are expecting that we're going to review it again.
Is that the wish of the board?
I haven't seen anything from council.
Right, we're not
It was
ready.
on your table.
We only got it
We
today.
just got
Yeah.
it today.
Yeah, we
bring
need
it
to
up
take
later.
take a
I'm
look
just
at it.
saying, it was there this evening when you came in, and
I haven't had a chance to even read it.
no problem.
We have other things that are to do,
Well, agreed.
actual issues. We keep spinning our wheels about stuff that you keep coming back. It'll be the third time, we'll talk for hours about something that's gonna go absolutely nowhere. So, but
I'm with you, Tracy. However, there are a lot of people who are very vested in it. And although you're not, it's not fair to just
I didn't say that.
assume-
Last time this board asked for it to be here, it came here. We can
Yes.
do it again, but I'm telling you, it's a waste of time.
And I agree with you. So we're wasting more time with the discussion. It needs to come back. End of discussion.
That's your opinion.
Yes, it is my opinion.
All right, individual items.
Done.
I'll pass.
Joyce, you have anything?
Nope, I'm good.
All right,
I move we accept the consent agenda.
is there a second?
Second?
Second,
All those in favor, roll call?
Flynn,
For-
aye.
Forrest votes aye.
McGarr and I.
Aye.
Oh, aye.
Aye, okay, town administrator items.
Okay, a couple of items. I want to thank everyone that participated in all of our website redesign focus groups, and we've launched the communications team, the new town website, and so I'm real interested in getting some feedback on that. It's vastly easier to navigate, and I think it's got a lot more information. All the old links are that were broken are off that. So go on the town's website, take a look at it, give me a little feedback on that, and it'll be something great that when we get the communications team in, that we'll be able to talk about that. And I just want to say, on the communications team, Amy is locked in, with me on this, and, what we're doing is we're going to take some time, and we're meeting with the communications team to try to address some of the issues and concerns that select board members have raised, that maybe, we can kind of work better together to elevate that level of communication with the community. And I know you guys are in a perfect place to help us, get there. So what we're trying to do is bring some, maybe change to that whole process. And so when we come in and talk about a communication plan, that we'll be able to focus on some of the issues you guys have raised. So we're working on that now. And I wanted to mention that cybersecurity training. We've got these requirements working with the state and the town's insurance that we have to do the training process. And anyone who is on the town's network, which means has an email, is supposed to do it. So I've been tasked to ask you guys to check your emails on the cybersecurity training and
I don't open any of them, just in case.
start it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Just
a good.
in case,
Just
just
in
tell
case.
them that I'm trying to keep
Yeah.
everybody safe, I didn't
Yeah.
open any of
Some
them.
of the
Look
stuff,
at the emails, and if you start it,
If we had Paul send us something that tells us what we can open, because we're trying to do what he told us.
I know.
yeah, if it looks suspicious, don't open it,
Yeah.
right?
Here's something interesting. I want to thank Liz very much with her assistance. We had a meeting with a member of the Friends of the Library that's interested in working to coordinate library interests in the community for a private fundraising project. And we're going to work to assist this effort and to try to see if we can help them. It has to be done privately. We can't do it. So it can't be done by town officials. But we want to be there. I mean, they have a lot of questions and to link up with the outreach. And my feeling is that even if, a ton of money is not raised, the outreach alone of tying in the south and the west parts of the community to have outreach will be real positive. So any effort like this, if it starts to move forward, has to come in front of the select board. And there's some things that, you have to know about and approve, like if they're going to name a room or something of that nature. So I wanted to let you know, we had some preliminary meetings. We hope to really work to assist that effort and get that moving and get them in front of you. And in the meantime, too, I know Amy's meeting with the library committee. They're getting ready to start their outreach project, and they're going to be setting up community meetings to kind of share their information. So there's a couple of outreach items going on with respect to the library that are going to, be back in front of you to stay on top of of it. And just also finally, we had a meeting today. We have the results of, if you remember the recreational field study that we started, a couple of years, even before we started the Matakees, we've got those results kind of coming in. It's really a very nice analysis of what the playing fields needs of our community in a very, quantitative way, and what possible scenarios are out there for trying to meet those. And obviously, it's got to work together with, there's the whole Matakees committee and everything. But what we're trying to do is get that study completely finalized, and we've got it. You'll notice that we didn't really talk about it, but it's on the upcoming agenda. We're going to have Recreation and the consultants come in, and we're going to be able to have that detailed discussion. It's the first time I've really seen it of exactly, we all talk about not having adequate, recreational playing fields, but I think we've got a good handle on exactly what that means and how that all works together. So I think that you'll find that a fascinating discussion. We're planning that, and it's listed, I think, in February, is it?
February 3rd.
So just a couple of key things.
The Matakees Reuse Committee going to be part of that discussion, or?
The Matakees is a little bit separate, right? Matakees they're coming in with their recommendations, and they've got, their fields.
Majority of their recommendations all
Right.
related to fields.
Right, but, so you could look at it this way. The study on the fields analysis, what we need for fields, really sets the baseline so that we could use that information to work with the MUC. And if we do a process, that we're in a process that they're gonna present their final recommendations, and then we're gonna evaluate the possibility and potential of a public-private partnership that would be a regional recreational facility for that property. Now, the field study it's not part of their action plan, but, they looked at the site and they said, well, what would it, cost to put a big, huge recreational facility there? But that is just information to feed into the MUC, because the MUC is a much broader. See, what we're doing now, this is really interesting, because with the comprehensive plan and the capital plan and the MUC, we're bringing every one of these resources to bear, making some decisions. So remember, the MUC is a higher level analysis that incorporates multiple stakeholders and the whole town into analyzing what we're going to do with that site. Now, the recreation study, they're just looking at what do we need for fields. So when they see, Matakees, they're like, well, what would happen if we took the entire property and covered it with fields? And, just to show what it would look like. But that's not the policy direction of the town. The MUC is trying to factor in recreational needs along with the potential housing and make those recommendations. So, you could get a portion of recreational fields out of the Matakees, but the thing is you're not going to be able to get the entire town. So, yeah, it's not going to be all things to all people. So there, may be other things that we have to incorporate maybe even into like a private developer. By having that information, we know what our sites are, what our needs
Yeah,
are,
he's-
so it's a
he's
broader
an,
discussion.
Administrator item, so
So if that answers your question, it's a piece of the puzzle, but it's not dictating to Muck. Muck is at a higher level, and then higher than that is you folks. So, but everything is gonna wind up coming through this board. So, but I think it's exciting to see, some of that process kind of come into fruition, and now that we have all of this information, it's almost too much information, because we know we can't have everything that we want, but it helps us to kind of plan and remember what we talked about with the capital. A lot of this stuff is not what we're gonna do tomorrow, it's what we're gonna do over the next 10 or so years, that kind of thing, so. But it's, you'll find it fascinating, I think.
Promise?
That's all I had, for tonight. It's been a long night.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Roll call.
She's been
Forrest votes
silenced.
aye.
McCurran, aye.
Aye.
Argo, aye.
Everybody, Happy New Year.
Happy New